In the Silver Dragon dungeon, two guards stood watch over the main gate. Suddenly, footsteps wrapped in powerful energy approached. The guards turned around in fear, recognizing Her Majesty. She then ordered them to leave so she could speak with the prisoner alone. Thus, the Silver Dragon Queen, Rosweiss, appeared. She then asked the great hero how it felt to become a prisoner of the Dragon Clan. In response, the Dragon Hunter told her to just get it over with. However, the monarch found his request curious and asked if he truly desired that. Then she stepped closer, saying it wouldn't be that easy since he was such a handsome man. As she touched him, she suggested that adding a few more scars would make him perfect. The hero then shouted for her to stop humiliating him and kill him once and for all. Even so, the Silver Queen proposed that he join the Silver Dragon clan. With a smile, the prisoner challenged her by asking if she was worthy. The question filled the sovereign's eyes with surprise and fury. In a moment of rage, she struck him with a blow that shattered the chains around him. After the strike, the hero fell, coughing amidst the dust. Soon after, she pinned him to the ground with her foot, questioning how he dared to be rude. Mocking him, the woman told Leon Cosmo that his reputation as a hero no longer meant anything. With a smile, she even called him an ignorant loser, declaring that he would die there. Leon then replied that she had taken away his chance to leave a legacy for his descendants. Despite this, the queen found the idea interesting but assured him he would have no successor. With determination, the warrior shouted for her not to underestimate humans. In response, her tail wrapped tightly around his neck. Soon, the Silver Queen lifted him into the air with her tail, calling him stubborn. The young man struggled to breathe, gripping the tail that was choking him. Almost out of air, he still managed to call out to Her Majesty. With a smile, the creature asked if he was finally ready to beg for mercy. Even suffocating, Leon revealed that she had made 2 mistakes from the start. Surprised, she listened as he said her first mistake was being alone with the Dragon Slayer. Then he prepared to reveal the second mistake she should never have made. Leon then shouted that her second mistake was tasting his blood. Immediately, the queen realized she had fallen into the blood curse. With that, her tail released him and Leon finally fell free to the ground. As he backed away, his opponent stared at him, feeling the effects of the curse. The monarch suddenly felt her body heat up, completely out of control. She then fell to her knees, not understanding what was happening to her body. Completely confused, she wondered what the hell was going on. Leon then explained that she would live in the pain brought by his soul forever. Tears ran down the dragon's face as the curse intensified. Suddenly, Rosweiss threw herself over Leon, who looked at her in surprise. With the force of the impact, she knocked him down onto the dungeon floor. Lying on the ground, Leon asked, confused, what was happening. Observing her, he realized the situation was arousing her. Without hesitation, the Silver Dragon leaned in and kissed him forcefully. The unexpected kiss left Leon completely speechless. An hour later, clothes and chains were scattered across the dungeon floor. Soon, the creature awoke, the effects of the curse still visible in her eyes. As she sat up, she looked around, confused, trying to understand what had happened. Furiously, she turned abruptly toward Leon, unable to believe the situation. Then she screamed, asking what he had done to her. Leon then explained that the blood curse creates a soul connection and that when he dies, you will feel endless pain. The sovereign called it absurd, questioning what had happened if the effect was only supposed to occur after his death. With that, the prisoner admitted that what happened was an accident as he hadn't expected that side effect. Immediately, she shouted furiously for him to shut up. Even so, Leon asked with a smile if dragons didn't follow the rule of monogamy. He then revealed that she could no longer have another mate or descendants, as the spell had exceeded his expectations. Then he teased her by reminding her that, just like him, she now would have no successor either. Filled with rage, the queen called him a bastard as energy crackled around her. Calmly, he asked if she wanted to kill him, stating that she didn't need to because he would die soon anyway. Finally, Leon declared that his curse was for her to live with hatred and pain forever. The dragoness remained silent, dressing herself while processing the situation. Then she asked how a human could take revenge in such a despicable way and still want to die. With her hand glowing with power, she called him a scoundrel, incredulous at his attitude. Then she struck him with magical energy directly in his chest. Leon Cosmo was once a legendary dragon-slaying hero. At just 5 years old, he killed a fierce dog and became the apprentice of a passing dragon slayer. At 10, he entered the Imperial Academy, graduating as the youngest and highest-ranked student in history. By the age of 15, he was already on the battlefield, slaying dragons and reclaiming territories for the Empire. Thus, he became known as the strongest dragon-slaying hero and humanity's only hope for victory. But everything changed when he became a prisoner of the Dragon Clan, and 2 years had passed since his capture. Suddenly, he woke up screaming, as if emerging from a long nightmare. While trying to catch his breath, he looked around completely disoriented. With his hand on his chest, he still tried to understand what he was feeling. Then he realized he was in a luxurious and unfamiliar room, wondering where he was. Next, he heard the sound of the door slowly opening. A small dark-haired girl peeked through the crack in the door. With a sweet voice, she noticed that he was finally awake. The hero was completely shocked. thinking about how cute she was. With that, he started to understand everything, concluding that he must be in heaven for his great contribution to humanity. He called her a legendary angel, but the girl asked, confused, what an angel was. Smiling, he approached and asked what the little angel's name was. The girl cheerfully replied that her name was Moon. He thought it was a very beautiful name, but wondered why her hair color was so strange. Moon then explained that her mother said her hair meant the moon, surprising him with the idea that angels had mothers. As he picked her up, he introduced himself as Leon Cosmode, and she excitedly said she knew Leon meant lion. He asked who had told her that, and she answered that it was her mother as well. With sudden suspicion, he hesitantly asked who her mother was. The girl joyfully replied that it was Ross Weiss, leaving him completely shocked. Realizing that her mother was the Dragon Queen, he began to piece together his own situation. With a radiant smile, Moon concluded that he was her daddy. The revelation left him completely paralyzed and speechless. Then the little girl asked if he really was her father and mommy Ross Weiss's before calling out to her mother. The confirmation hit him hard, leaving him even more stunned. Soon, the Silver Queen appeared, and while Moon said that Daddy had woken up, she merely replied that she already knew. With a smile, the Queen confirmed that he had finally awakened. Moon then revealed that Mommy must be happy because she visited him every day. Although the Dragoness confirmed the story, Leon thought that only an idiot would believe that. Next, she asked Moon to go play outside so she could speak with her father. Once they were alone, he asked if Moon was really his daughter, and the answer was yes, biologically. With her tail tapping against the door, the Silver Queen angrily stated that he hated her. Leon stepped back, questioning why she gave birth to the child and why she saved him. The Queen then explained that he had been asleep for 2 years, asking if he thought she would just let it go. Furious, he shouted that he never wanted to do that because they could not coexist, and he would never have touched her under any other circumstances. She teased him, asking if touching her was torture, and he confirmed that of course it was. Immediately, her tail wrapped around his leg. With a pole, she threw him backwards onto the bed. As she pinned him down, he asked fearfully what she intended to do. Without answering, the creature tore his shirt with a single motion. With a magic circle in her hand, she revealed that she wanted to carve her own dragon pattern onto him, making him scream for her to stop. She said that it would make him her prisoner and his greatest shame, as he would never be able to leave her. Then she mocked him, asking what his human comrades would think when they saw the dragon tattoo. As he felt the marks spreading, he asked why she had to go this far. The Sovereign approached, explaining that the dragon's concept of revenge was extreme and inhumane. With that, she declared that she wanted him to live with that shame and be severely humiliated by her forever. However, Leon felt something unexpected as the mark formed, because for the Queen, this was a great honor. Thus, she leaned over him and said it was time to begin his unbelievable revenge as a dragon. The scene begins in the Grand Silver Dragon Castle. Their two maids comment that the Queen is in a good mood because her husband has awakened from his coma. Hidden, the Dragon Slayer overhears the conversation and becomes irritated by the claim that he is that so-called husband. Then he remembers how the Silver Queen squeezed him for a whole day and night, nearly breaking his waist. With that, he firmly decides that he will not become her plaything and will escape. Soon, he observes the guards positioned at one of the castle gates. Thus, he realizes it is impossible to leave through there, as 4 dragons guard the passage. Even so, he finds the silence and the lack of guards strange compared to 2 years ago. Suddenly, something unexpected catches his attention on the other side of the wall. Right after, he finds a mysterious hole hidden in the grass and wonders how it got there. Looking inside, he suspects it could be a trap. Desperate, he ignores the risk and decides that the hole will be his only way out. As he enters the tunnel, he bids farewell to the Queen and says she can keep little Moon. Little did he know that the girl was watching him from afar with curiosity. Next, the girl excitedly points to her mother, saying that Daddy is digging a hole like a dog. Nearby, the Sovereign watches the scene and agrees that he is incredible. Then Moon asks when Mommy will reel him back in. The woman explains that it is rude to use the word reel when talking about her father. Curious, the little girl asks what word she should use instead. With a smile, the Queen replies that the right word is bring him back. After some time, the fugitive keeps running through the forest. As he runs, he thinks that he will soon reach human territory beyond the mountains. Then he stops for a moment, believing he has run far enough to shake her off. However, his face fills with shock as he senses something approaching. Looking up, he screams Ross Weiss's name upon seeing her flying in her dragon form. Soon after, she congratulates him on being such a great runner, leaving him terrified. Unexpectedly, her tail appears in front of him. Then the creature shows up and asks if it wouldn't be fun to play with him. The dragon seems disappointed and reveals that she helped him escape, creating the hole for him. He admits that he suspected it was a trap, but he didn't expect her to catch up so fast. The winged figure asks if humans will still see him as a dragon slayer with that mark on his chest. He replies that he would rather start a new life as an ordinary person than be tortured by her. Annoyed, the dragon complains that he doesn't know how to appreciate her kindness and prepares to act. With a swift motion, the beast grabs him with her huge paw, leaving him scared. As Ross Weiss takes flight, he yells, asking where she is taking him, and she says she is helping him return. 3 hours later, the dragon flies over the night sky near the border town. Suddenly, the creature drops him in free fall, making him scream in panic. With that, he crashes through the treetops from the impact of the fall. The forced landing makes him hit the forest floor hard. On the ground, he groans in pain while holding his head. Soon after, he pulls himself together and stays alert. Looking ahead, the Dragon Slayer is surprised to see a brightly lit city in the distance. Confused, he asks himself if that is really a human city. Behind him, the Silver Queen appears in human form and confirms that it is the human empire. Then she asks if looking at the lost city makes him think he can simply return. With a smile, she warns that even being so close, he will not be able to go back. Unexpectedly, the mark on his chest begins to glow with a purple light. Then the woman reveals that when a person with the dragon mark feels a strong desire, the other also reacts. She teases him about the heat in his body, and he asks if she wants to do it right there. In response, she confirms that she brought him there to make him understand what shame is right in front of his hometown. Holding his chest, he asks if she really thinks he will lose faith because of this. Then he grabs her and vows that he will wait for an opportunity to repay all the humiliation double. The unexpected attitude leaves his opponent completely speechless for a moment. Surprised, she simply agrees with a slight blush on her face. Approaching him, she whispers that she will be waiting for him alive or dead. Later, near the Empire's border town, the couple sits beneath a large tree. As they embrace with a smile of complete satisfaction, the woman rests beside her exhausted partner. Despite his exhaustion, she claims to be very pleased with his performance. Soon after, the teasing queen suggests bringing him there every month to visit his hometown. Irritated, the warrior gets up and accuses her of being a dragon queen obsessed with draining his power. In response, she prepares to leave, saying their daughter is waiting for them at home. However, he interrupts her, asking her to wait, which leaves her intrigued. Then he declares that as a dragon slayer, he cannot be carried around like prey and will travel alone. Though the journey would take more than 10 days, she warns him, but he insists that she not underestimate human endurance. With a challenging smile, she says she wants to see how long he can endure. After a while, the young man struggles through the forest with great difficulty. However, he soon stops, panting, completely exhausted from the long journey. She catches up to him and asks if he needs help, but he denies being tired. She teases him, saying the only thing tough about him is his stubbornness, which irritates him. The two stare at each other for a moment, tension filling the scene. Suddenly, the young man spots a dragon slayer army approaching through the trees. Because of this, he becomes excited, imagining that the knights might help him escape the dragon. But at his side, the creature's expression turns cold and threatening. Immediately, he realizes that if he calls for help, they will all be killed without hesitation. At that moment, one of the knights raises his hand, signaling the group to stop. Soon after, the squad leader turns toward the couple and asks if they are lost. With a forced smile, the young man replies that they were just out for a walk, determined not to involve innocent people. The knight then warns them of the dangers in the forest and offers them a ride to ensure their safety. Shortly after, he introduces himself as Walker, captain of the 47th Dragon Slayer Squadron. Gratefully, the young man declines the offer, claiming they can protect themselves, trying to make them leave. Suspicious, the captain comments that the young man's face looks familiar and asks if they have met before. The simple question fills the Dragon Queen's eyes with fury. He quickly realizes the Danger Wing sees her hand glow with energy. In an agile movement, the young man grabs her hand, preventing any attack. To cover it up, he pulls her into a hug and claims that the captain must have mistaken him for someone else. He also says he has a common face, while whispering for her to let him handle the situation. The leader watches the scene, while the woman seems to accept his proposal. With a laugh, the captain says goodbye, saying he won't interrupt their romance any further. As soon as the troops leave, they both watch the wagon disappear down the dark road. With an angry look, a dragon asks if she has been hugged enough. Then she pushes him hard, making him step back. Despite this, she admits that the young man was smart not to ask for help, but warns him about something important. She scolds him, demanding that he know his place, and makes it clear that she never considered being his wife. Soon after, she warns that the road is long and begins to walk. Suddenly, he feels a sharp pain and grabs his own arm. With blurred vision, he tries to approach her, even as she walks away. Soon after, his body gives out and he collapses in the middle of the forest. Seeing him fallen, the woman asks, surprised, if he really lost consciousness. With disdain, she calls him a fragile human and releases her powerful aura. After that, she lifts him from the ground to take him back. Transformed into a dragon, she tosses him into the air and gently catches him with her mouth. Then he rests unconscious on her back as they fly across the skies. Flying beneath the starry sky, she decides to interpret his collapse as a plea for mercy. At dawn, the scene returns to the majestic silver dragon castle. Inside the castle, the warrior finally awakens in a comfortable bed. At his side, little Moon excitedly celebrates seeing her daddy awake. Confused, he asks how he ended up back there, and the girl replies that mommy brought him back. With that, he remembers being captured by the queen, feeling like prey. Next, his attention turns to a bandage on his injured hand. Proudly, the little girl reveals that she was the one who bandaged it for daddy. As he watches her, he reflects on how dragons are a fierce and violent race. Even so, he notices that the child shows no hostility and treats him as a father, perhaps because she is a hybrid. With a smile, the man pats her head and says she is amazing, making her happy. Soon after, he advises her not to grow up to be like her mother, which leaves her confused. Unexpectedly, Rosweiss herself appears at the door and asks what is wrong with being like her. Caught off guard, he denies saying anything as the woman approaches with a tray. The daughter then proudly tells her mother that she bandaged daddy's injury following her instructions. Without much emotion, the dragon comments that she should have done it anyway. The girl obediently responds while the father thinks about how strict her mother is. To talk privately, he suggests that the little one go hide in the garden to play. With that, the little girl gets excited about the idea of playing hide and seek with daddy. Then, he hurries her along, saying that he's not like her mother and telling her to go quickly. As he starts counting, Moon runs excitedly, asking him not to count so fast. The man keeps counting, watching his daughter dash down the hallway. Soon after, he abruptly turns to confront the queen. Irritated, he asks if she isn't being too harsh with the child. In response, the woman explains that dragons must be strict to raise strong warriors. He argues that their daughter is gentle, but she counters that gentleness is a degrading word for a dragon. With a smile, the young man compliments the queen, saying she's also pretty cute when she wants to be. The unexpected comment visibly irritates her. Angrily, she grabs his shirt tightly. Then she yells that he is just a slave for her to vent on and tells him to stop throwing himself at her. Her explosive reaction leaves him completely speechless. Rosweiss informs him that, as queen, she has duties and the task of caring for the child will be his. With a hug, she softens and says their daughter likes him very much. Right after, the scene shifts to the beautiful castle garden. As he walks through the garden, he sarcastically reflects on the idea of being a babysitter for a child. Suddenly, an unexpected sound catches his attention from the other side. Soon he sees Moon hiding behind a pillar, thinking she's tricked him. With a smile, he points and shouts that he found her. The girl, however, remains still without reacting, so he watches her more closely. The man then notices the angry expression on the little girl's face and wonders why. Embarrassed, he tries to apologize for making her wait. Unexpectedly, the little girl turns and starts running, leaving him confused. Then he shouts, asking why she is running away. Confused, he wonders where she went as he just saw her pass by. Thus, he concludes that predicting a child's mood is very difficult. He then realizes why the queen left him with the task of taking care of her. Suddenly, Moon jumps on his back and happily celebrates catching daddy. Surprised, he asks her if she hadn't just run past him. She explains that she went out looking for him because daddy wasn't finding her. Hearing her explanation, he wonders if he really saw wrong. At that moment, Moon calls him to show something and he follows her, still confused. From afar, another little girl just watches the scene silently. Moments later, the water from the fountain gently trickled down the garden wall. Meanwhile, Moon hums softly as she focused on her drawing. Behind her, her father watched with a calm smile on his face. He thought that having a daughter wasn't so bad and felt his soul being healed. Then he promised himself that he would help her escape from the Dragon Queen. Suddenly, the girl ran up to him, showing him the family portrait she had drawn. Looking at the drawing, the man was confused to see two children in it. So he asked about the second figure, and she answered that it was her sister. Completely shocked, he heard the revelation that Moon had a sister. In his mind, he realized that he hadn't hit just one target, but two with a single shot. With that, he remembered the girl he had seen in the garden and understood the reason for her anger. But the little one explained that her sister wasn't angry. She was just shy when she saw him. He reflected that it was normal for them not to be familiar since they had just met. Thus, he concluded that it was that woman's fault and decided he needed to confront her. Far away in the study, the queen was working at her desk. She then raised her gaze from her reading with a serious expression. At that moment, the man burst into the room, calling her name loudly. Unfazed, she calmly asked where Moon was. He replied that their daughter was playing with her sister and questioned when she would tell him that he had another daughter. With a slight smile, the dragon asked if he hadn't figured that out already. Right after, he thanked her for giving him 2 daughters, saying she had certainly worked hard. Then he promised to write her name on the family tree, which visibly irritated her. The queen then asked if he knew why she hadn't told him about the other daughter. He accused her of being jealous of his relationship with Moon and of hiding Noah on purpose. Surprised, the woman asked if he was really that eager to meet her. The warrior replied that he wanted to build a good relationship with his daughters, unlike the cold mother she was. With a challenging smile, the sovereign merely warned him not to regret it later. Later, sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows. Then he appeared holding a knife with a determined smile on his face. While chopping vegetables, he decided to win over his shy daughter with a delicious meal and make the queen regret it. He remembered making that stew often in the battalion as its sweet flavor was good for children. After tasting it, he proudly confirmed that his cooking skills hadn't gotten rusty. At that moment, he imagined that Noah would love the food, and he felt confident that the taste would win her over. Outside, 2 maids watched the kitchen scene with curiosity. They commented that the prince was a good dragon for cooking for his family even after recovering from illness. Suddenly, both were surprised to see Rosweiss arriving with the 2 daughters. The queen then dismissed the maids from dinner, saying they could go rest. As soon as they arrived at the dining room, he greeted them, saying they were just in time. Moon ran to her father, praising the delicious smell, and he told them he had prepared stew and steak especially for them. With a loving look, he wondered if Noah could feel his feelings through the food. However, the girl simply turned her face away with disdain, leaving him completely shocked. He was frustrated, wondering why this was so different from what he had imagined. Then, he mentally accused Rosweiss, convinced that she had predicted this outcome and prevented him from meeting Noah for that reason. Firmly, the woman instructed the daughter to formally introduce herself to her father. The girl then introduced herself as Noah K. Melf, daughter of the Silver Dragon Queen Rosweiss. Trying to get closer, the warrior politely introduced himself as Leon Cosmo, her father. The girl's response, however, was one of total indifference. Awkwardly, he wondered if the child held some grudge against him. Sensing the situation, Moon whispered to her sister to speak more so she wouldn't embarrass Daddy. With her arms crossed, Noah doubted that he was really her father, saying he looked far too weak. Those words hit him hard, and he felt the full impact of her question. Wounded, he thought to himself that he had a wild daughter and was facing his first crisis as a father. The family dinner, which should have been a pleasant occasion, became the most tense moment of Leon's life. Though they looked alike, he noticed that his daughters had opposite personalities, with Noah being just like her mother. With a hopeful smile, he asked his eldest daughter if the food he had prepared was good. Noah replied that it wasn't, complaining that the meat was tough and hard to chew, which hit him hard. Seeing the scene, the queen couldn't hold back a discreet laugh. When Moon asked why she was happy, the woman replied that it was because the family was gathered together. Soon after, she teased her companion, asking if he wasn't happy too, and he awkwardly agreed. Moon then asked if Daddy could have dinner with them every day, and he agreed, though reluctant deep down. But the older sister interrupted the conversation, shouting that she didn't want that. The younger sister asked why, and No explained that she wanted to study at the Young Dragons Academy as soon as possible. Rosweiss reminded her that the department was for older dragons and asked why she was in such a hurry. The girl then declared that she wanted to start defeating dragon hunters right away, leaving her father stunned. He quickly realized in shock that the girl wanted to defeat him, her own father. With that, he tried to warn her that those warriors were strong and that it would be dangerous for her. Noah snapped back, saying not to treat her like a child, while he thought that she truly was one. The queen agreed with her daughter's idea, saying that the sooner she learned, the faster she could fight. Then she challenged the man to give a reason to stop Noah from going to the school. Realizing that opposing them would only make his image worse, he decided to change tactics. So he reluctantly agreed, saying it was fine by him. At that moment, he understood Rosweiss's true intention. He pictured her as a giant monster, realizing that she was using their daughter to mentally attack him. While promising himself to get revenge, the woman declared that he would help Noah prepare for the exam in a month. Excited, the girl immediately agreed to her mother's orders. As soon as dinner ended, Moon happily showed off her full belly to her sister. After the girls left, he turned to Rosweiss and called her. Then he said they needed to wash the dishes, leaving her confused by the request. She replied that the servants would take care of that. He explained that the proper way to end a family dinner was for the couple to clean everything together. Whispering, he asked if she didn't want to create a harmonious family environment for their daughters, even if it was all a lie. Looking back, Rosweiss saw their youngest daughter watching them with eyes full of hope. Seeing the girl's gaze, the queen reluctantly agreed to the idea. Hearing her response, Moon excitedly offered to help too. Noah then firmly grabbed her sister's hand. Next, she pulled Moon away, saying that the girl was coming with her. With the two girls gone, the kitchen fell silent, leaving only the dirty dishes in the sink. Rosweiss turned to her companion and asked when he planned to start helping. With a confident smile, he asked if she had forgotten what he told her 2 years ago. He quickly reminded her of his warning never to be alone with a strong dragon hunter, which left her surprised. Suspicious, the queen asked what he was planning to do. He replied that unlike last time, he wouldn't let himself be manipulated by her. Furious, the woman attacked him with her tail, questioning if he thought he could escape. However, he easily blocked the strike with just his hand. He grabbed her tail and asked who said he wanted to escape. The queen let out a cry of surprise at the sudden and unexpected touch. The pull threw her off balance, making her fall to her knees, completely shocked. Then, the man revealed that he had read about the dragon tail's weakness, asking with a smile if she couldn't do anything now. Soon after, he approached and commented that dragons are always eager to conquer and control everything. Finally, he asked if they had ever been controlled themselves, leaving her completely speechless. Despite her heavy breathing, Rosweiss remained completely flushed on the floor. Right after, she demanded that he release her tail. In revenge, Leon reminded her how he had been humiliated purely for her pleasure. With that, he suggested they try something different, provoking a flood of insults from her. Quickly, the woman reacted, trying to break free. Meanwhile, two maids wondered whether the prince's night had finally ended. Soon after, they entered the kitchen, surprised by how clean it was, and questioned whether the prince was responsible. One of them smiled, enchanted by a perfectly clean dish. Through the crack in the door, the dragon silently watched their conversation. Immediately, he silenced her, warning that the maids could not see her in that situation. Right after, the kitchen door closed. The young woman glared at him furiously. He approached, stating that now they could begin. His gaze was firm and determined, At that moment, her eyes seemed helpless. 3 days later, in the kingdom's vast castle, curious, Moon asked if their father was dead from sleeping so much, but No decided to investigate immediately. A small kick landed on the sleeping man's face, making him feel the pain of the blow. Thus, No confirmed that he was alive, leaving him shocked at how he was being treated. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw the younger girl startle when she realized he was awake. Immediately, the little one ran off to tell Rosweiss, while the man tried to understand when exactly he had passed out. The woman simply asked if he really needed to be reminded of what had happened. With that, Leon recalled that he had been knocked out with a single punch that night. Sitting on the bed, he reflected that any ordinary person would have died from such cruelty. Even so, he admitted that she was very beautiful and didn't look her age. The girls then asked what was wrong, but No said he was only staring at their mother. Discreetly, Rosweiss knocked over a flower ornament on the vanity with her hand. The sudden movement made the warrior turn toward her. Then he picked up the delicate accessory. With a calm gesture, he placed the ornament in her hair, saying that it suited her very well. She then asked him how many women had heard that same line. The dragon replied that when he was a boy, he only knew how to take care of his uncle's donkey. Curious, Moon asked her father what a donkey was. He then described it as an animal with big ears that complains a lot, just like their mother. The comparison made the woman glare at him furiously. Soon after, she struck him with a strong punch to the stomach. The daughters asked if their father was okay, and he replied yes, still in pain. The matriarch then announced that he would teach the girls how to write, making him complain for not being consulted first. Moon celebrated the news, while No declared she could do it by herself. Soon after, both ran off to the library to find a pencil, and No chose the color purple. Alone with the dragon, Rosweiss informed him that her sister would be visiting and could not see the daughters. He then asked why, wondering if her family didn't want to meet them. With that, the woman explained that he was now Leon Cosmo, a dragon who had awakened after 2 years. Finally, she ordered him to memorize the surname in case he encountered her sister. He simply confirmed that he understood Her Majesty's orders. As he watched her leave, he wondered whether the queen truly believed he would obey her. On the contrary, he decided that he would make her suffer the greatest humiliation in front of her sister. In the study room of the Silver Dragon Temple, the lesson was beginning. Leon then demonstrated to his daughters how they should write, asking them to pay close attention. Right after, he showed them the written names and asked them to memorize the writing before practicing. However, No complained that his handwriting was ugly, claiming that their mother's was much prettier. Moon asked what he would do, and the dragon replied that he needed to return something to their mother. As he left, he warned that he would come back to check their work, making Noah wonder if he was an idiot. Her sister commented that he seemed happy, but the little silver-haired girl denied it, admitting that at least he wrote quickly. Even so, she couldn't hide a slight blush on her face. Meanwhile, at the city gate of the Silver Dragon Temple, an important visitor was arriving. The newcomer was Isabel Melqui, Queen of the Red Dragons. Right after, she hugged Rosweiss, happy to see her sister again after so long. The visitor commented that it had been a year since they last met and said that the other looked healthier. With that, she asked why her husband wasn't there since she had heard that he had awakened. Rosweiss lied, saying that he wasn't feeling well, and the queen expressed regret at not being able to meet the dragon who had won her sister's heart. Finally, she teased that they must get along well to have had children so quickly. Her sister denied having any feelings for him, claiming that the marriage meant nothing. Isabel simply remarked that she was still the same proud person as always. Then the hostess suggested they go to the garden to talk while they walked. From afar, the two walked side by side, holding each other closely. From a window, the prisoner watched them through a telescope, identifying Rosweiss's sister. With a determined look, he decided it was time to test the influence of the dragon mark. Meanwhile, Isabel spoke about the recent instability in the territory of the Fire Dragon King. Upon hearing this, Rosweiss remembered a name, Constantine, as the image of a fire dragon appeared in her mind. She asked if he had disappeared, but her sister speculated that he might be trying to expand his territory. Suddenly, a mark on her chest glowed intensely, causing her a sharp jolt. At that exact moment, she felt a strange connection forming. Isabel asked if something had happened, but the warrior covered it up and asked her to continue the conversation. In her thoughts, she cursed Leon, knowing he was the cause of that feeling. Soon after, she suggested reinforcing the border defenses to prevent any incident. With that, she felt the dragon mark's effect growing stronger in her body. Her sister noticed that she was sweating and asked if she was feeling alright. Rosweiss then made up an excuse, saying she had to deal with an important matter and would return in 20 minutes. When Isabel offered to accompany her, she refused, saying it wasn't necessary. The queen figured it was the dragon mark, commenting on how young people these days love to play around. Meanwhile, Leon relaxed in his chair, wondering how long Rosweiss could endure. Soon after, she burst into the room, shouting his name, leaving him surprised at how quickly she had returned. She grabbed him and asked if he had made the mark resonate on purpose to embarrass her in front of her sister. The man pretended to be innocent, asking if it was his fault for missing her. His words left her completely speechless. The sudden comment left her startled and deeply blushing. Liam realized the effect was good because at least he had managed to land a blow on her. Rosweiss scolded him, telling a prisoner not to be shameless and to keep his thoughts to himself. In her mind, she admitted she had been fooled by his words when she was planning to beat him up. She then warned him that he was spared this time, but the dragon merely teased her by making a face. Reflecting, he realized that with just one sentence, he left the woman speechless, proving the power of the dragon mark. However, he wondered why his heart pounded harder every time he thought about her. Immediately, he scolded himself, telling himself to stop thinking about such horrible things. Then he remembered that the girls were waiting for him while Moon wondered why he wasn't coming back. At the gates of the city of the Silver Dragon Temple, Rosweiss' sister says her farewell. With a wave, she announces that she is already leaving. Then Rosweiss smiles and asks her sister to be careful on the way. Already in dragon form, the visitor insists on meeting her sister's husband, and Rosweiss promises to introduce him next time. Soon after, she flies away into the night sky. The Silver Queen watches her leave with a serious expression. After that, she angrily thinks that she will teach the dragon hunter a good lesson. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Leon suddenly sneezes. Reading a book, he wonders if the dragon woman is speaking ill of him. At that moment, he notices that Moon and Noah have already fallen asleep in bed. Carefully, he adjusts the blanket over them so they won't feel cold. Then he leaves the room silently so as not to wake them. As soon as he tries to leave, a hand slams the door shut in front of him. Rosweiss stops him from leaving while he asks if her sister is already gone. Irritated, she reminds him that they still have unfinished business today. The sovereign drags him down the hallway by force, ignoring the prisoner's desperate protests. Soon after, they arrive at the luxurious room of the Queen of the Silver Dragons. Then a wooden basin with hot water is placed on the floor. Leon then brings the water, asking what she needs it for. The woman replies that she is tired and orders him to help her wash her feet. The unexpected order leaves him completely astonished. Still, she insists that he obey, claiming it as punishment for what happened earlier. Reluctantly, the former hunter kneels, feeling humiliated to be serving a dragoness. As he holds the woman's foot, he wonders how many hunters she has already trampled. Rosweiss becomes confused, wondering why he is just standing there admiring her feet. Blushing, she questions herself he might have a foot fetish. Impatient, she demands that he put her foot in the water already. Then her feet are submerged in the basin of hot water. Suddenly, the queen screams that the water is too hot and kicks him in the face. From the impact, Leon is thrown backward. She accuses him of trying to take revenge with the excessively hot water. With a provocative smile, he reminds her that she was the one who asked for his help washing her feet. Rosweiss claims that he seems not to have learned his lesson. With her foot on his chest, she asks if he ever thought he would be trampled by a dragon. Then she wonders what would happen if she pressed a specific point. The strong pressure makes him grimace in pain and discomfort. Leon asks her to stop, while feeling a strange mix of shame and pleasure. With that, the dragoness challenges him, wanting to see how long he can endure it. Even so, he decides that he will not surrender to that woman's tyranny. With a swift movement, he firmly grabs her foot. Leon then comments that he has eaten many kinds of legs, but never a dragon's. The threat leaves Rosweiss shocked, unsure of what he will do next. Soon after, he bites her leg, declaring that he would eat raw dragon claws. A furious scream echoes through the castle, with the queen promising to kill Leon Cosmode. The next day, Moon wakes up still sleepy in bed. Curious, she asks her mother why she is limping, but Rosweiss only replies that it is nothing. Soon after, she asks Leon about the bandage on his face, hearing the same evasive answer. The girl's expression becomes confused at their replies. With that, she cheerfully concludes that it was a fun game and also wants to take part. In the garden surrounding the Silver Dragon's castle, Leon and Rosweiss walk in silence. Ahead, the woman walks with an irritated expression while he follows closely behind. From a distance, two maids observe them, thinking the scene resembles a romantic date. However, one of them finds it strange that the queen and the prince do not seem close. Rosweiss continues her walk without saying a word. The man also seems uncomfortable with the situation. With that, he breaks the silence and questions her about the reason for this walk. Moments earlier, he had refused to go out for a walk with her. The dragoness then explained that they needed to maintain the facade of a harmonious family for the people. Back to the present, he thinks she's acting strangely and wonders what she is plotting. Hidden, Moon comments that her father is so slow that he doesn't even know how to hold her mother's hand. Determined, she decides she will help even with Noah trying to stop her. Without hesitation, she runs towards them, while her sister pleads for her to leave him alone. Suddenly, the little girl appears behind the couple, and Leon asks, surprised, how she got there. Moon then grabs one hand from each of them and joins the two together. Then, she explains that to take a walk, they need to hold hands. Hidden, the girls find the couple way too sweet, and No concludes that it is their mother who doesn't fit in. The man then reflects that he didn't expect holding hands would affect Rosweiss so much, thinking that she doesn't know how to get close to the girls. Then he comments that sometimes they call her mother, and Rosweiss asks if there's anything wrong with that. He explains that normally they would say mommy along with daddy, and the way they say it sounds distant. The Silver Queen becomes confused, questioning if there really is a big difference between the terms. With a smile, the hunter suggests they try to get the girls to call her mommy to feel closer. The suggestion leaves Rosweiss completely surprised and speechless. She then decides they will try that from now now on, and he complains about being pulled to walk faster. As they walk, Rosweiss asks if he misses home, saying she has something to ease his nostalgia. Then she leads him to a storage building located behind the mountain of the castle. Leon asks what kind of place it is, and she replies that she hasn't named it. As she unlocks the door, she says he can call it a storage room or a back room. As soon as the door opens, she states that the name doesn't matter. When they enter, Leon is impressed with the place and asks if it's a dragon's storeroom. Next, he notices a bracelet his grandmother gave him, commenting that it would be worth a fortune in the Empire. Rosweiss then explains that some items are meaningful to her, while others are just war trophies. Later, he asked about her family, and the Silver Queen reveals that she and her sister were raised by their grandmother. Leon adds that he also grew up in an orphanage and was adopted by his master. Curious, he asks what she really wanted to show him there. The woman approaches a chest, claiming that its contents will help him forget his worries. When she opens the chest, Leon is shocked to see his black and gold armor. Rosweiss then asks if he hadn't always wanted to recover that armor. In disbelief, he wonders if he's dreaming and if she's really going to return it to him. With a mischievous smile, she confirms that she is. However, as soon as he touches the armor, a seal of magical runes shines brightly. Leon notices the runes and laments that his old friend has fallen so far. With a victorious air, Rosweiss reveals that he has finally fallen into her trap. As the energy surrounded him, Leon asked angrily what Rosweiss had done. With a smile, she revealed that she had placed a dragon mark on the armor, activated by his touch. Then the prisoner's hand convulsed as the effect began. He grabbed his chest, regretting that he had trusted that dragon. With a satisfied smile, the queen remarked that the mark's effect would double. Soon after, she grabbed his chin and teased him, asking if he could handle it. With difficulty, the warrior clenched his teeth while trying to say her name. With that, he was pushed backward, completely losing his balance. Pinned to the ground, he felt an intense urgency take over his body. Rosweiss revealed that she had been searching for ways to make him lower his guard, as she hadn't expected him to fall so easily. Surprised and speechless, Leon could only stare at her, his face flushed. With a victorious air, she then asked if her performance had been convincing. He asked in shock if everything she had said about her family and holding hands was a lie. As she approached, Rosweiss stated that it was all true, but that didn't change her plans for him. Finally, she touched her own body and reminded him of what he had said before. The Silver Queen reminded him that he had said she liked being in charge. With a smile, she confirmed that she really did like to be in control. Then she asked if her dear husband was ready before kissing him, making him curse. The large storage room doors closed, sealing the fate of the dragon hunter. After a few hours, he cried out of relief, thinking that it was finally over. Lying beside him, Rosweiss watched him with a satisfied expression. Irritated, Leon asked what she wanted now. Holding his chin, she commented that his scars had faded and that he had a more mature look. The prisoner then protested angrily, stating that he wouldn't fall from her trap again. As she got dressed, the woman admitted with a smile that he had also become smarter. However, she paused, making Leon uneasy. With a mischievous smile, she finished by saying that his body had deteriorated a lot. Confused, he could only ask what that meant. Her statement that his body had decayed left him completely shocked. The repetition of the phrase left him frozen in complete despair. The humiliation continued as the queen's words echoed in the prisoner's mind. The next day, a new dawn rose over the vast castle. With an exhausted appearance, Leon opened the door and asked who was there. On the other side, Rosweiss greeted him with a good morning, while Noah waited silently. With a teasing smile, she remarked that he didn't look like he had slept well. Leon then asked whose fault that was, but the woman pretended not to remember anything. Watching the scene, the little girl just thought that they had already started arguing again. Rosweiss then informed him that he needed to give no lessons for the Academy's strict test. Next, she teased him by saying that after yesterday, he could only prove his worth in other areas. Furious, Leon protested that the previous night he just hadn't been in good shape. Then he promised he would make no pass the test, but demanded something in return. The Silver Queen accepted the deal, but on the condition that his request wouldn't be excessive. With a determined look, the dragon agreed to the proposal, sealing the deal. Rosweiss wished them good study and told him not to push himself too hard, leaving him irritated. Noah then asked why he argued with Mommy, and Leon replied that it was just their way of talking. Surprised, he asked the girl what she had just called Rosweiss. Innocently, the little girl simply repeated the word Mommy, holding her book. Then he asked if she preferred calling her that, and Noah timidly confirmed that she did. With a satisfied smile, Leon celebrated, having guessed that she would like it. In response to his reaction, the little one just stayed silent, a bit embarrassed. Soon after, she said it was time to study and began to walk, making her father ask her to slow down. Although they were in the study room of the Silver Dragon's castle, two little creatures were making themselves known. Nearby, the young man was focused on his studies. However, the Valkyrie approached and asked why he hadn't gone to sleep yet. Because simple lessons weren't enough for Noah, he explained that he was preparing a special study plan for her. Thus, he claimed to be sure that the girl would pass the test with only 1 month of study. In response, the woman proudly said that the girl took after her. But he looked at her with a smile and said he seriously doubted that. Right after, he boasted about having graduated as a genius and having won all the school's honors. Moreover, he asked what awards the queen had won, leaving her speechless. Still surprised, the warrior reflected, not imagining that he was so intelligent as well as strong. Even so, she teased him about how he ended up as her prisoner, making the young man shout that he had only lost once. As he lamented his misstep, the blonde mocked him, saying that the queen stepped on him. Then she noticed a plate of peppers on the table. Curious, she asked what he was going to do with them. So the young man replied that he had brought them from the kitchen to stay awake. However, she warned him that those were yellow peppers from the dragon clan and that he wouldn't handle them. Still, he ate the pepper, and his reaction was immediate. Soon, he screamed that it was way too spicy. With his mouth on fire, he started desperately searching for water in the room. Then the woman held his face to calm him down. Immediately, he was surprised and speechless at the unexpected touch. A little embarrassed, she explained that she thought her cold hands might make him feel better. With that, the young man noticed that her fingertips were cool and pleasant. Feeling the touch, he realized how soothing it was. Soon after, he thanked her, saying he was already feeling better, and she stepped back. After the moment passed, they were both visibly embarrassed. Finally, the Valkyrie ordered him to go to bed, warning him not to eat any more peppers. As he watched her leave, he thought that for a moment he had wanted her to touch his face more. But he quickly grew irritated, remembering that he had been tricked by that evil dragon. Even so, he returned to his books, determined to find a way to recover. Then he flipped through a book, dismissing the red dragon fruit and the Ling and Yu herb, until his eyes fixed on a page describing the dragon big force. With a smile, he realized that he had finally found what he needed. The next day, he informed the girl that he had already corrected her practice test. She then made a guess of 50 points. With a smile, he showed her the result, 62 points, a little above what she expected. Despite this, the little one clenched her fists, visibly dissatisfied, for the young man understood that she had high expectations for herself. Still thinking, he noticed that unlike Myun, this girl had chosen to study instead of playing. To encourage her, he patted her head and said that 62 points was a very good result. In this way, she thanked him and said that now they should focus on the wrong answers. Soon after, he had a coughing fit, so he apologized and explained that his throat was irritated because of the peppers from yesterday. Meanwhile, the blonde showed up to see Noah and told her that her father had worked all night. Thus, she revealed that to stay awake, he had eaten super spicy yellow peppers. Then the girl surprised him by holding out a small container and telling him to take it. Surprised, he asked if it was for him, and the young girl confirmed, explaining that it was his wife who had sent it. With a smile, he asked her to thank her mother for him, wondering how that woman could be so kind. Then he cheerfully suggested that they continue studying, bringing father and daughter closer together. Sometime later, in the kitchen of the Silver Dragon's castle, everything was prepared. Soon, two maids entered with all the requested ingredients, and the young man told them to leave them there. Meanwhile, he thought to himself that he had asked for irrelevant items so they wouldn't guess his plan. Furthermore, he reflected that despite using common ingredients, the success rate of the potion was very low. First, he began the process by grinding and mixing all the necessary components. Then he added them in order into a pot to cook. Hours later, he was frustrated to realize that he had failed once again. He still regretted having followed the book's methods several times, always failing at the purification step. The separation method described using high heat could easily nullify the medicine. Therefore, he concluded that he needed a more effective way to separate the medicinal residues. At that moment, a lightning bolt cut through the sky outside. Sitting in a chair, he looked out the window and remarked that it was going to rain soon. However, when he looked again at the flash of light, he had a sudden idea. He remembered his alchemy teacher saying that electrolysis sometimes succeeded where fire failed. Excited, he decided to try distilling using his magic, but questioned its efficiency given his still limited power. Even so, he claimed to have enough control to use his magic precisely. Half an hour later, he held a small pill and celebrated his success. With a satisfied smile, he concluded that preparing dragon medicine was simple. Suddenly, his daughter appeared and asked what Daddy was doing. Immediately, he froze for a moment, surprised by her presence. Startled, he shouted her name when he noticed her. He tried to cover it up, but the little girl asked if Daddy was hiding candy. Quickly, he explained that it was medicine for her mother, making the girl ask if Rosewasi was sick. He reassured her, saying it was just to help her recover from exhaustion, although he had made it for himself. Myun then happily asked her father to take good care of Mommy. He agreed, thinking that he would definitely take care of her when he fully recovered. Meanwhile, a heavy storm fell over the castle. Back in his room, the alchemist wondered about the side effects of the supplement on humans. Therefore, he decided to leave it aside for now, frustrated by the situation. At that moment, a noise at the door caught his attention. Surprised, he asked the Majesty what she was doing in his room. The visitor revealed that she had heard from their daughter that he had prepared a special medicine for her health. Embarrassed, he thought about how his little dragon could gossip so quickly. She then calmed him, saying she was surprised that he could make potions in such a simple environment. Next, she asked to see what he had prepared. So he handed over the box, thinking she would take it from him anyway. After opening the container, the woman praised him for creating dragon strength perfectly in such poor conditions. He was shocked by the praise and wondered if she was really being serious. Rosweiss said that he could keep the medicine, but warned that it couldn't be consumed right now. Desperate, the young man asked why it was forbidden. Then she explained that the effect was too strong for a human body, making him wonder if the medicine was truly that powerful. The queen stated that she was saying this for his own good because a human wouldn't withstand the effect. Indignant, he declared that he had already defeated countless dragons and accused her of underestimating him. Completely ignoring the warning, he put the pill in his mouth. Immediately, he declared that courage is the anthem of humanity, while Rosway screamed his name in despair. At that very moment, he felt the pill's power surge through his body. Thus, the warrior ran to him and scolded him, warning that she wasn't good with healing magic. Then she held him and said she would try to break the medicine's effect first. Even in pain, he struggled while she shouted for him not to move. With his body crackling with energy, he stared at the Valkyrie and declared that this was human courage. Under the rain, a large amount of energy gathered around the palace. Suddenly, the young man screamed as blue lightning completely surrounded his body. Frightened, the queen wondered what he was doing using lightning magic on himself. Still, he simply endured the pain as the electric energy continued to flow. Soon after, he lost consciousness, and she caught him before he could hit the bed. With the young man lying down, Rosways asked if he had completely lost his mind. Then she turned away, saying she would wait and call the palace doctor. However, her hand was grabbed before she could step away. The Valkyrie looked back, surprised by the sudden gesture. In an instant, he grabbed her tail with a dazed smile. Irritated, she demanded to know what he was doing now. With a happy expression, he called her his wife and asked where she thought she was going. Completely shocked, she questioned who he was calling by that title. As she demanded that he let go, he refused to let his wife leave. Seeing him persist, the warrior wondered if the lightning magic had caused mental confusion as a side effect. She concluded that even acting like an idiot, he didn't seem to be in danger. With his persistence, she finally gave in and asked what it was that he wanted so badly. The alchemist then replied with a smile that he wanted to have another child with his wife. The unexpected declaration left her completely speechless and visibly embarrassed. Even when she scolded him for not taking care of the children they already had, he insisted he wanted a third. To avoid further trouble, she decided it was better to keep playing along for now. Thus, Rosways agreed to have more children and even to visit his homeland when they were ready. As he celebrated, she thought that him acting spoiled was even more annoying than usual. Next, the bold man called her the best wife and leaned in to kiss her. The queen pushed him away, telling him not to take advantage while wondering when the medicine's effect would wear off. Soon after, she called him an idiot and punched him in the face. After knocking him out onto the bed, she sighed and admitted she couldn't help but hit him. Concerned, she leaned in and asked if he was okay. Suddenly, he woke up saying he felt a little strange. At that moment, the warrior panicked upon seeing a dark mark appear on his chest. She wondered how the dragon mark on his chest could have activated now. Then he firmly grabbed her shoulder. As he gently pushed her toward the bed, she asked what he thought he was doing, but the young man replied that he felt strange. Soon after, he described how his body felt too hot and his chest was pounding. The queen then realized that the dragon mark combined with the lightning had intensified his desire for vital energy. With that, he hugged her by the tail, saying that he loved her, making her think she wouldn't be able to stand it if this continued. Irritated, she pushed him away and shouted for him to get off since her tail was dragging on the floor. Suddenly, the alchemist paused and placed a finger on her lips. He changed his tone and told her she looked incredibly beautiful tonight. Surprised, she realized his attitude had shifted to an intensity that wouldn't take no for an answer. At that moment, she began to wonder if she was also unconsciously wanting the same thing. With a gentle voice, he asked if his wife could help him with this. Embarrassed, she finally agreed, but warned that it would only be for tonight. In an instant, the two shared an intimate and silent moment, united by the storm outside. The next morning, the sun shone over the palace. Leon finally woke up, feeling the effects of the previous night. Beside him, Rosways watched and asked if he was already awake. Completely startled, he moved away and asked what she was doing there. Then he sat up, complaining that his whole body was sore. As he tried to understand what had happened, she asked if he didn't remember anything. With a teasing smile, she showed him the marks on his back, saying that a dragon hunter shouldn't forget such things. Shocked, he wondered if he was really the one responsible for those bite marks. Suddenly, flashes of the previous night flooded his mind. With the full memory of the events, Leon screamed in embarrassment. She then asked if he now remembered how he had begged her last night. As he continued panicking, Rosways began repeating the words he had said. Desperate, the alchemist interrupted her, saying there was no need to continue, as he already remembered everything. He reflected that he had created the elixir to improve his health, but hadn't imagined the effect would be so extreme. Leon admitted he had overdone it and asked if he had hurt her, but she assured him she was fine. With a smile, he stated that now she knew his body well and could no longer claim he couldn't handle it. Rosways simply stared at him with an intense expression. Then she came closer and he asked what was wrong. She grabbed his chin, praising his performance and saying she expected him to keep it up. Indignant at the comment, Leon asked if he had now become her servant. Changing the subject, she mentioned the bet they had made about the treatments. She then admitted defeat and asked if he had already thought about what he wanted as a reward. Leon replied with a sly smile that he had already decided. Then he asked her to send someone to check on his master and his master's wife in the Empire. Rosways explained that a visit was possible, leaving him deeply grateful for the help. Soon after, he composed himself and thanked her more formally. Elsewhere, in the Garden of the Silver Dragon Sanctuary, Moon approached and asked if her father was sick. Surprised, Leon denied it and wanted to know why she was asking. Moon then revealed that her mother told her it was he who took the medicine, and that men couldn't say they were sick. He became furious, questioning how Rossweiss could say such things to a child and reflecting on his dignity. While the little one kept insisting on knowing if he was still sick, Leon scolded her and ended up biting his lip, making it bleed. Seeing the blood, Mune panicked and begged him not to die, saying she couldn't live without him. Liam calmed her, assuring her that he was fine, while thinking that she really reminded him of her mother, especially in her bluntness. To distract her, he offered to make a new toy, and Mune excitedly celebrated the idea. With that, Leon began assembling a small colorful cube with his tools. Then he presented the magic cube and explained that she could turn its parts however she wanted, leaving the girl thrilled. He reflected that he had never thought of using his mechanical skills to care for children and wondered if he had a knack for it. Suddenly, his expression changed as he sensed something unexpected in the air. Immediately, he looked carefully toward the garden. Mune asked what it was, but he brushed it off, saying it was nothing. In his thoughts, he remembered feeling for a moment the gaze of a dragon coming from the direction where Noah usually trained. Knowing that she probably wouldn't want to approach, he decided to make a toy for the older girl as well. Later, Noah peeked through the bedroom door while Mune was already asleep. On the table, she found a magic cube with a note from Leon, challenging her to try to solve the puzzle. The girl held the cube, claiming she didn't care about childish toys. Even so, she began to turn the pieces with curiosity. Soon after, Noah hugged the gift with a smile and silently thanked her father. Although St. Heath Academy is a school of nobility with strict standards for dragons, a student's family is an important evaluation criterion. For this reason, to maintain the illusion of a united family, Rossweiss brings everyone to the floating city. As soon as they arrive at their destination, the woman lands in her majestic dragon form. Then Leon approaches and says he will help Mune get down slowly. While he holds her, the girl asks why he didn't transform into a dragon too. At that moment, he awkwardly thinks that he's great at killing dragons, but not at becoming one. Soon after, Noah suspiciously asks if he really can't do it. Faced with the question, the man is completely speechless. So Rossweiss explains that his body still hasn't recovered enough to take on dragon form. Moved, Mune asks her father to get better soon, and he promises to try, though he thinks it's impossible. With the moment behind them, the family heads toward the city gates. Enchanted by the sight of so many dragons, the girl gets excited, but her sister tells her not to walk so fast. At that moment, Leon starts to visibly tremble. Noticing his reaction, Rossweiss comments that it's the first time he's seen so many dragons since he woke up. With a teasing smile, she asks if he's afraid. However, he denies it and says that, in fact, he's very excited. His eyes shine as he thinks that the streets are full of prizes and that he's going to get rich. In this way, the woman realizes that she worried for nothing, while he's already calculating his profits. Soon after, the bell of a photo studio door rings. An attendant welcomes them, greeting the Silver Dragon Queen and her family. As they enter, Mune excitedly points to the many dragon photos on the wall. Curious, Leon then asks why Rossweiss had to come in person, since kings command their own clans. After hearing her explanation, he teases her by saying that her title isn't worth that much. Irritated, the queen kicks him with the tip of her shoe. As he crouches in pain, she says her title is still higher than his. The photographer comments that it's an honor, and Rossweiss says they were lucky to get an appointment with her. Then the woman asks about Leon's tail, but his companion requests a suit without room for it. She remembers how he once refused to wear tail decorations, claiming it hurt his dignity. Back to the present, the photographer guides them to try on their outfits, and Mune celebrates that she'll wear a pretty dress. Sometime later, the girl and Noah appear in their new dresses. Right after, Leon shows up wearing an elegant white suit. Delighted, Mune immediately praises her father, saying he looks very handsome. The photographer comments that the suit suits him well, and the man recalls that the last time he wore one was at graduation. With a smile, he turns and asks Noah's opinion. Embarrassed, the girl agrees that he looks handsome. He then compliments his daughter's dresses, saying they look adorable too. At that moment, the curtain of the nearby fitting room opens. As soon as Rossweiss appears in a black dress, Mune exclaims that Mom looks beautiful. Seeing her, Leon is surprised and completely speechless. When she asks what's wrong, he awkwardly replies that the dress suits her. The woman suggests that he would look better with a tail, but the man immediately refuses the idea. Soon the girls call their parents, asking them to come quickly. Faced with this, the photographer announces that it's time for the photo and asks the couple to come closer. Reluctantly, the two move closer for the photograph. The photographer then asks them both to smile and begins the countdown for the picture. Soon, the family photos are revealed, showing all of them posing together. Upon seeing the images, the professional praises the couple, saying they really look like they belong together. Finally, the photographer informed them that the photos would take 6 hours and suggested the family enjoy a stroll through the city. As they left, everyone said goodbye to the photographer at the studio door. While walking down the street, Mune called her sister over to look at a stall. Surprised, Rossweiss commented that she was going shopping with her partner, who explained that it was to relax before Noah's test. Soon, the girls became enchanted with the prizes at a game booth. Suddenly, a nearby noise startled the couple. The booth owner encouraged the children, saying they could hit the target if they kept trying. Observing, Leon noticed there were shooting games at the booth, and Moon excitedly called for him. After seeing Noah lose, he thought that the game was designed so the owner would always make money. Rosweiss then explained that the game was difficult for the girl because it used traces of magical energy. At that moment, the owner offered the couple a chance to play and win a teddy bear for their daughters. Faced with this, the hunter turned and asked the girls if they really wanted the prize. The two vehemently denied it, but he understood that their answer actually meant yes. Without hesitation, he asked for 10 shots from the owner, warning that Rosweiss would be the one paying. Holding the gun, he thanked her and commented that he hadn't held one since Hunter Academy. With a quick shot, he hit the target dead center. Meanwhile, the booth owner thought he had adjusted the gun so that no one could win. To his surprise, all the targets were hit in a perfect sequence. Leon celebrated his own luck, while the man muttered that it was impossible. Moon shouted that her dad was amazing, and his companion admitted that he wasn't half bad. The owner then handed over the prize to the winner, who thanked him with a victorious smile. Then, he gave the teddy bears to his daughters, who thanked him excitedly. Rosweiss watched the scene and thought that when he truly dedicated himself, he had a certain charm. Soon, the young man noticed her gaze and wondered why she was staring at him. Nearby, a little girl asked her mother for a teddy bear too. Shortly after, Rosweiss found herself holding a giant teddy bear in surprise. Seeing the scene, Leon laughed at the vendor's frustration and, excited, asked the boss for 10 more shots. Despite a warning not to waste time, he replied that he was there to have fun with his daughters. The hunter asked if she didn't like it, and the woman replied that she didn't want one, but he insisted that he couldn't leave her empty-handed. Even though she thought the bears were useless, she admitted to herself that they were cute. Holding a teddy bear, Rosweiss asked him to come to her room after dinner. With the unexpected invitation, Leon was completely shocked. Later, the castle lit up, setting the stage for the encounter. As he walked down the corridor, he concluded that he had been summoned for an intimate moment. Even so, he pondered that if he went, he would suffer for a night, but if he didn't, the suffering would last all week. Determined, he decided to face her and ran toward the bedroom door. To his surprise, he noticed the door was unlocked. Cautiously, he entered the room and called for Rosweiss. Upon hearing the sound of water coming from the bathroom, he deduced that she was taking a bath. Looking at the door, he noticed her silhouette through the glass. With his heart racing, he convinced himself that they were really going to have a night together. Then he tried to compose himself to control his own anxiety. Soon after, he peeked curiously as the bathroom door opened. Rosweiss then appeared wearing a nightgown and invited him to begin. Desperate, Leon realized that she planned to drain all of his energy again. Right at the start, Rosweiss asked Leon whether he preferred to do it in the living room or on the balcony. In response, he said that the balcony would be embarrassing if someone saw them. With that, she agreed on the living room, stating that the place didn't matter. Liam then closed his eyes and took a deep breath, preparing himself for whatever was coming. Next, he shouted that he was ready to begin. Suddenly, he threw himself onto the sofa, making her question what he was doing. Lying down, the hunter asked in confusion if this wasn't what she wanted. Rosweiss then teased him, saying that he certainly seemed eager, but it would have to wait for another time. As he sat up, he asked what the scroll she was holding was. She revealed that it was St. Hit's Academy's test to assess the couple's habits and personality. She then explained that they needed to align their answers to avoid harming No's evaluation. Leon read the paper and questioned whether this wasn't just a silly compatibility game for couples. He then asked what her favorite color was, and while Rosweiss answered black, he said his was silver. Afterward, they exchanged papers to check their answers. Immediately, they both exclaimed in embarrassment that it was all just a coincidence. The woman then suggested they test how much they knew about each other, and he agreed. A short time later, Leon announced that he had already finished his part of the test. When they compared results, he boasted that his score was higher than hers. In her thoughts, Rosweiss was impressed by the details he got right, such as the comfort of her tail. However, she noticed that his mistakes were only when he tried to guess her thoughts. For that reason, she reflected that the mistakes were normal since she never opened up to anyone. Given the situation, she considered that maybe she could open up a little more to her partner. Meanwhile, he noticed that she was staring at him and wondered if it was because of anger over the score. To break the silence, he laughed and reassured her, saying it was hard to get a high score with so little time spent together. Right after, he stated that for No's sake, they needed to try to understand each other a bit more. Upon hearing this, Rosweiss was completely flustered. Next, she hit him and told him to stop stalling and write down the correct answers already. Then they argued about the answer to the disappointment question, with her expecting him to use his dragon strength another time. A week later, Leon celebrated their new average while Rosweiss slept in his lap. Satisfied with the result, he then said goodbye so he could leave. As he stood up, she grabbed his clothes and asked him to wait. Then, she invited him to take a bath in her bathtub before leaving. Leon then asked, surprised, if she really wanted him to bathe in her room. Without giving him time to think, Rosweiss pushed him toward the bathroom, telling him to go already. In the bathroom, he wondered why she was so insistent and whether she was planning something. However, he concluded that she was probably just tense because of the test. With that, he decided to simply enjoy the moment and got into the bathtub. Soon after, he relaxed in the hot water, thinking it felt great. Suddenly, he was startled to see Rosweiss entering the bathroom, wearing only a towel. She approached and said she had accumulated a lot of stress and wanted to relieve it now. Upon hearing that, he thought to himself and he already knew this was going to happen. Soon, he shouted for her to find another way to relieve her tension and not dump it on him. With a smile, Rosweiss replied that transferring the stress onto him was the only way to relax. As she entered the bathtub, she teased him, asking if he hadn't come there with the same thought. Faced with the question, Leon had nothing to say and admitted that he had no arguments. Finally, she warned him that he wouldn't escape and should surrender to his fate. At last, the day of the entrance exam at St. Hist Academy arrived. Upon arriving, Leon was impressed by the grandeur of the place. Standing at the entrance, he and Rosweiss grew serious for a moment. Then the hunter quietly teased her about the stress therapy from the night before. Irritated, his companion cursed him softly, but he just laughed and called her to go inside. Once inside, they both observed the crests of the great families. Soon, a receptionist called for No Cosmo Milkway from the Silver Dragon tribe. The woman was surprised when she checked her clipboard and confirmed that the girl was only 1 year and 3 months old. Faced with this, Leon asked if there was a problem, but the receptionist said she was just a little surprised. She explained that although the minimum age was 1 year, most dragon hatchlings enter between 4 and 6 years old. Rosweiss then stepped in, stating that their daughter was smart and that they respected her decision. With that, the staff member directed them to the family evaluation on the 4th floor, while Noah went on to take her test. They arrived at the meeting room located on the indicated floor. There, the couple sat on a sofa to wait with 3 other people. In a low voice, Rosweiss asked if he thought the others would be easy to deal with. Leon whispered back that they looked easy to defeat, and that his former self would beat them in 50 moves. As the others noticed their presence, he whispered angrily that he would go after them all if they failed Noah. Then, a man introduced himself as Vice Principal Walter Wilson, in charge of the parental evaluation. Both responded with a smile, although the hunter suspected the evaluator might cause trouble. The vice principal then began by asking when their wedding anniversary was. Hearing the question, the two looked at each other tensely, as it was precisely the question they feared the most. In a flashback, Rosweiss worried about how to answer since they weren't actually married, and Leon suggested using a memorable date. She then began to recite the agreed-upon date, the year 1733 of the creation era. Together, they answered with a smile that it was on May 25th, the day they met in the dungeon. The vice principal commented on how fast the marriage and pregnancy happened, and the hunter made up a story about love at first sight. Then the evaluator asked if they had discovered any flaws or bad habits in each other. To sound more convincing, Leon said yes, while Rosweiss said no, as they had agreed. Pressed to explain, Leon began to say that sometimes he felt he wasn't very important at home. Even so, he continued, praising Rosweiss for being highly efficient and taking care of everything perfectly. However, he admitted that she built up stress, and that he wished to help more, finishing with a mental plea for her to stop taking it out on him. During the interview, the lady asked the dragoness what her husband's most charming qualities were. Rosweiss then described him as handsome, intelligent, and responsible, listing several of his traits. He listened with a forced smile, not knowing whether he was being genuinely praised or just mocked. Then she took his hand and told him not to overdo things. Moments later, she squeezed tightly, making him feel a bit of pain. Seeing the scene, the interviewers concluded that the two were a deeply in-love couple. The interview continued in a pleasant atmosphere among everyone in the room. To finish, the evaluator proposed that they ask each other one final question. Rosweiss smiled and said she had no questions, as she already knew everything about her partner. Then the evaluator turned to the hunter, who wondered how to end the evaluation quickly. Leon surprised everyone by asking if she liked the teddy bear he had given her. The unexpected question left Rosweiss confused, not understanding his reason for asking it. With a flushed face, she timidly admitted that she liked the gift very much. Satisfied, he smiled and said he had no more questions to ask. Thus, the evaluator concluded the assessment and thanked the couple for their cooperation. A few days later, a messenger dragon flew in through the window and Mune announced that the message had arrived. Anxiously, everyone gathered around the table as Leon prepared to open the scroll. The letter revealed that Noah had passed the evaluation and should attend the admission ceremony. As the sister celebrated her success, the parents looked at the result in surprise. Then Mune hugged her sister, saying that she and their parents were amazing. Rosweiss thanked her partner, but he replied that there was no need, as Noah had done it all herself and was his daughter. With a smile, the woman announced a banquet and said he would help so he wouldn't feel unimportant, making him call her petty and spiteful. And so the day of the entrance ceremony at St. Hist Academy finally arrived. On stage, the headmaster welcomed the new students, congratulating them on their acceptance. Meanwhile, the audience of families and students listened attentively to the speech. Soon, the headmaster announced that the first-ranked student, Noah K. Melkavi, and her family would come up on stage. Excited, Mune cheered when she learned that her parents and sister would be giving a speech. Then Leon, Rosweiss, and little Noah walked toward the podium. On the way, the father recalled how, an hour ago, he had been informed about the unexpected speech. Once on stage, he accepted that he had no choice but to face the sudden situation. The headmaster then asked the student if she had any advice or feelings she wanted to share. At first, the girl said that her mother, a powerful dragon, always supported and inspired her to be strong. Then she thanked her sister for always being by her side, making Mune very happy. Curious, the man wondered if his daughter would mention him in her speech too. Lastly, the young girl thanked her father, who had stayed up countless nights to help her study. Hearing her words, he was visibly moved. The speaker then ended her speech with a simple word of thanks. Afterward, the headmaster suggested that Leon kiss Noah to show his fatherly love. Panicking, the man wondered if the headmaster wanted to turn the ceremony into his execution. In his mind, he remembered that just a month ago, the girl wouldn't even let him touch her. Whispering, he suggested they could just hug to avoid too much effort. However, the girl insisted that he kiss her already and get it over with. Surprised by her response, the father was shocked for a moment. Since she insisted, he then kissed her on the forehead. In the audience, Miu shouted that she wanted to kiss her sister too, but the maid stopped her from running up. Beside them, Rosways was relieved that the suggestion hadn't been directed at her. With that, the headmaster praised the Melchody family for showing what a true family relationship looked like. Right after, he asked how Liam could forget his wife after kissing his daughter. Irritated, the man thought that the headmaster had crossed the line, wishing he had confronted him during the evaluation. But looking at Noah, he concluded that he couldn't be shaken by something so small on such an important day. Then Leon turned to Rosweiss with a smile and reminded her that they were the most harmonious family. His wife whispered back, incredulous, but he replied that he had no choice with the girls watching them. Rosweiss wondered how her husband could stay so calm, since she herself was extremely nervous about getting close. Putting her embarrassment aside, she decided to just kiss him once and for all. But he simply gave her a quick kiss on the cheek and immediately stepped back. The unexpected gesture left her completely surprised and speechless. As she touched her face, she kept processing what had just happened. Liam turned to the audience and thanked them, even as the crowd asked for another kiss. Whispering to Rosweiss, he admitted that now he felt relieved. The woman realized she had been used and angrily thought she would make him pay if they weren't in public. The headmaster then thanked the family and dismissed them so they could rest. Outside, everyone said their goodbyes, and Rosweiss told her daughter that she would pick her up on the weekend. In a hug, Mune asked her sister not to forget about her, and Noah reassured her. Leon advised her to eat, study, and take care of herself, but the young girl replied that she was no longer a child. With that, he revealed that he was only passing on the advice his wife had been too shy to give. In a more serious tone, the father instructed her to fight back if she was ever bullied, assuring her that she would have his support. The girl asked if he had ever done that, and Leon explained that he always got beaten by her grandfather whenever he fought. But he reassured her, saying that unlike her grandfather, he wouldn't hit her over such things. Noah understood the lesson and clenched her fists, showing her determination. Later, in the office of the Queen of the Silver Dragon Temple, light filled the room. Meanwhile, Rosweiss was reading about the blood spell, a forbidden magic that sacrifices the caster's life. As she reflected, she realized that with a small modification, the spell could be turned into a useful resource. Suddenly, the door opened, and she was surprised to see that someone had already returned. Shirley, her trusted handmaiden, knelt and greeted her as Majesty. The sovereign then asked about the investigation, and Shirley regretfully reported that she hadn't found the whereabouts of Tiger Lawrence and his wife. Questioning their disappearance, Rosweiss was told that they had carefully erased their tracks. Faced with this, Rosweiss concluded that Leon's master didn't seem to be just a simple farmer as he claimed. For that reason, she ordered her servant to continue the investigation and report any new findings. Moments later, the hunter was attacking as he trained with a staff. He encouraged Little Moo to strike downward with all her strength. The girl then unleashed several movements at once, leaving her father surprised. From a distance, Rosweiss watched the two of them training. As soon as the girl saw her mother, she called out joyfully. The man then asked if she had finished patrolling, and the answer was yes. Next, Rosweiss asked if her daughter had behaved well with her father, and the child confirmed that she had been very obedient. Soon after, she announced that they would have steak for dinner and told the girl to change her clothes first. Noon was very excited because she loved steak. Quickly, the maid took her away, while the little one left singing happily about dinner. After the child left, the queen turned to speak with her husband. Suddenly, he pointed the branch he had been using for training at her face. She then asked if he had finally decided to attack her, reminding him that would be treason. Leon replied that it was just a branch and questioned whether she seriously called that a weapon. Even so, the woman countered that in his hands as the strongest hunter, even a branch would be a deadly weapon. The man simply turned his face and sighed in response. Soon after, he asked her to give him a proper compliment without sarcasm, but her response was a flat refusal. Admitting his intention, he said he just wanted to scare her, while Rosweiss doubted that a branch could hurt her in her current state. At another moment, she mentioned that Noah had written a letter saying everything was fine at the academy. Liam thought that wasn't much, but his companion explained that it was rare for their daughter to write to reassure them. With that, he agreed and commented that in that way the girl was very much like her mother. Rosweiss gave him a serious look, about to say something. Then she commented that despite his serious face, he was kind and that their daughter admired him greatly for his strength. She explained that in the girl's mind, he was like an exemplary student she needed to surpass at the academy. Leon smiled with relief, as until then, he thought his daughter only saw him as a weak bookworm. With that, Rosweiss revealed that Noah often visited him when he was unconscious, and he laughed at her stubbornness. She continued, remembering that when their daughters were babies, only their father could calm them down. The memory showed Leon sleeping peacefully with the two little ones by his side. Even so, he admitted that the idea of blood ties still felt somewhat distant to him. Soon after, he recalled his childhood as an orphan, never understanding what a family truly was. At age 5, his master and the master's wife adopted him, treating him like a son. For the first time, he had the idea of a home, though sometimes he felt a void when he saw their families. At that time, he believed everything would be perfect if his masters were his real parents. His master then comforted him, saying that in the future, he would become a father too. She explained that there would be people for him to love and protect, a family united by bonds of blood. With that memory, Leon reinforced his resolve, understanding that they were his most precious family. Rosweiss pulled him from his thoughts, saying it was time to go home. He thanked her for the information and suggested they move on. Then the woman moved her foot toward her shoe on the floor. Seeing his hesitation, she asked him to help her put on her shoes as a form of gratitude. Leon was completely confused by such an unexpected request. Despite Rosweiss's insistence, Leon refused to help her put on her shoes. He complained that washing her feet had already been humiliating enough, and he didn't intend to lose his dignity further. The queen then kicked him in the face, reminding him that he still owed her for the kiss during the ceremony. Firmly, she ordered him to stop whining and finish quickly so they could leave. With no other choice, Leon agreed to help and began putting on her shoe. Rosweiss commented that his body obeyed quickly, but he grumbled that the task was difficult. The comparison made his wife furious at the remark. In an instant, she attacked him, trying to knock him to the floor. Leon then started running, saying that she wouldn't catch him, but Rosweiss chased him down furiously. Days later, Mune excitedly announced someone's arrival to her parents. Soon after, a huge dragon descended from the skies before them. The hunter noticed that the Leviathan dragon was much larger than Rosweiss in her dragon form. Even so, she explained that despite its size, the Leviathan was weak in combat and had a calm temperament. While he questioned the creature's nature, she explained that the Academy used it to transport hatchlings. Immediately, a beam of blue light enveloped Noah and lifted her off the ground. From within the light, the girl said she was returning to her mother. Rosweiss welcomed her back while Mune hugged her sister warmly, having missed her. Soon after, Noah hesitated as she tried to call Leon father, and he commented that she still wasn't used to it. As they walked, the man said that he and his wife had prepared plenty of food for her. On the table, Noah's report cards showed perfect scores and first place in various subjects. The queen smiled proudly while Mune looked at the results, impressed. Noah then handed over a paper and apologized for not taking first place in the physical aptitude test. Her mother comforted her, saying there was no need to apologize, while her sister insisted that she was the best. Seeing the scene, Leon thought he needed to step in, as one daughter couldn't express herself well and the other exaggerated. So he analyzed the test and said it was normal for her to have less endurance than older dragons. He then pointed out on the paper that she had the highest win rate in the class, excelling in strategy. Noah whispered that she heard her mother always had perfect scores in school. To reassure her, Leon revealed that he wasn't first in his class when he started either, but got there through hard work. He encouraged her not to get discouraged, knowing she could do even better, and Mune agreed. Mune then asked who would win if their father, being so strong, fought against their mother, leaving both parents surprised. Simultaneously, the couple confidently answered that they would win the fight. Immediately afterward, they glared at each other, questioning each other's answer. Leon bragged that no one could beat him in combat training, clearly claiming to be the strongest. With disdain, Rosweiss stated that she would defeat him no matter what, even if he had won more awards. The hunter teased that she married him because she lost to him, but his wife retorted that it was the other way around, and that's why they had children. With that, he challenged her to settle the dispute outside, something he had wanted for a long time. As Mune asked if they were going to fight, Noah decided that they should follow and watch them. Soon after, the couple stretched in preparation for battle while the daughters watched, seated nearby. Mune expressed her curiosity about who would win, and her sister explained that watching veterans train improved their skills. Rosweiss then teased her husband, questioning if his body had recovered enough for a fight. Leon replied that he didn't care, as it was a rare chance to fight the Silver Dragon Queen. Seeing her partner's determination, Rosweiss suggested they make a bet, leaving him curious. She proposed that if he won, she wouldn't touch him for a month, but if she won, he would grant her a wish. The hunter thought for a moment, considering the possibility of winning the bet. He immediately imagined that he could take a month of vacation, something normally unthinkable. Excited by the possibility, Leon pointed at her and accepted the bet. Then the two stared at each other with challenging smiles, ready to begin the fight. Leon and Rosweiss took their positions in silence, facing each other. Meanwhile, Mune watched excitedly, eating popcorn from the bench. Suddenly, her excitement made her cup of juice fall to the ground. The sudden noise startled the couple, interrupting their focus. While Mune lamented the spilled juice, Noah urged them to hurry up and start already. At her call, the hunter took the initiative and charged forward with a punch wrapped in blue energy. However, the queen blocked the blow with ease, using only one hand. Immediately, she counterattacked with a quick strike from her tail. Leon managed to dodge the attack with a backflip, barely escaping. Supporting himself on the ground with one hand, he launched himself into a new attack. He then delivered a powerful kick, which was blocked by the opponent's arm. Even though it was defended, the force of the strike pushed her back several meters. She concluded that she was at a disadvantage in close combat and needed some distance. Noticing her intention as she stepped back and unleashed magical energy, he kept a close watch. The woman then declared that the method didn't matter as long as she won while preparing a ranged attack. With that, Rosways unleashed a blast of energy, which the hunter dodged easily. Moon worried that her father might lose, but her sister explained that each one was using their best strategy. With that analysis, the younger girl concluded that their mother wasn't confident in close combat. Impressed, she praised her sister, who said she had learned it in class from the teacher. Soon after, Rosways challenged her partner to see if he could dodge her next attack. Amidst the magic, he replied that he was not only fast, but also very resilient. With a confident smile, the dragoness concentrated her energy for a stronger strike. Suddenly, Leon found himself surrounded by two massive waves of magic. A huge explosion of energy erupted where he had been standing. The smoke slowly cleared over the battlefield. Unexpectedly, he emerged from the dust, surrounded by lightning, saying the attack was way too slow. Rosways was shocked to realize that her husband had used lightning magic to strengthen his body. Determined, Leon shouted that no one was going to take away his well-earned month of vacation. Then he charged at high speed and attacked her magical defenses. Seeing the situation, she thought she needed to end the fight quickly because what he was doing was reckless. Noticing an opening in her guard, the hunter smiled with confidence. With that, he quickly closed in and swept her legs to throw her off balance. Caught by surprise by the unexpected move, Rosways lost her balance in midair. Moments later, Leon celebrated his victory with his fist raised. However, as he prepared for the final strike, he saw his partner falling backward. In a quick motion, he grabbed her arm to stop her fall. He then pulled her firmly, bringing her back close to him. Thus, Leon held her in his arms, bringing the battle to a halt. As the two stared at each other, embarrassed, she softly whispered his name. Suddenly, he panicked when he felt a dragon flame ignite in his chest. The man screamed in desperation, saying that it was burning him. Confused, he looked down, not understanding what had happened. Rosways then scolded him for getting distracted in the middle of the battle as the flame faded away. Soon after, the daughters approached, and Moon asked who had won the fight after all. Leon sighed and admitted that because he let his guard down, he lost. His wife admitted that he was strong for fighting without his equipment, but he boasted that he would beat her at full power. With a victorious smile, she reminded him that since he admitted defeat, he shouldn't forget their bet. Remembering the deal, he collapsed to the ground in despair, realizing he had forgotten that part. The girls then asked if their father had died, but Rosways reassured them, saying that he had just overdone it and would be fine soon. At night, in the children's room of the Silver Dragon's sanctuary, Leon said his goodbyes. He then asked Noah to take care of Moon and instructed the youngest to behave well. Soon after, he became emotional and expressed his concern about leaving his daughters alone. Noah questioned her father's drama, reminding him that it was just one night with their mother. Panicked, he replied that being tortured by his wife all night was far worse than an execution. At that, Moon cheerfully concluded that their mother was going to eat their father. She explained that she had read in a book that females eat males, while Leon worried about her delight in such an idea. At that moment, Rosways appeared and scolded him for saying such things to the girls. Right afterwards, she tucked them into bed and said she would only discuss interesting things with their father. As the daughters wondered what those interesting things could be, the adults gave vague and conflicting answers. Out of patience, Rosways dragged him away, saying that was enough, but he asked for a moment to say his last words. As he was dragged off, Leon shouted that he would always love his daughters, but Noah commented that adults were immature. In the room of the Queen of the Silver Dragons, 2 bottles of wine and glasses were prepared. She offered him a glass of wine, but he refused the drink. After his refusal, the woman stared silently at her own glass of wine. She questioned him, reminding him that he had promised to fulfill her request after losing the bet. Leon said he wasn't in the mood, as he thought he needed to stay sober to avoid being manipulated. Unexpectedly, Rosways confessed that, in fact, she had wanted him to win the fight. Confused by her revelation, he asked why she had wanted that. She explained that if he had won, he would have had a month to recover and maybe become more interesting. Suspicious, Leon then asked why she didn't simply surrender. As she approached him, the queen said that in the moment, she had an idea for a fun little game. Then, she began tilting her glass of wine. With a smile, she poured the wine onto her own body, saying that she loved the expression he made when he lost. Shocked and nervous, he asked what she was doing. Rosways then seductively ordered him to drink it all. He thought that the aroma of wine mixed with her perfume was a marvelous sight. For him, that moment became simply irresistible. On impulse, Leon leaned in and began drinking the wine directly from her body. The unexpected action made Rosways gasp in surprise. After he drank, she asked with a flushed face if it was good like that. With a smile, he replied that it clearly wasn't enough for her. Then Rosways ordered him to open his mouth. Immediately after, she bit her own lip, making it bleed. With that, the woman leaned over and let a drop of her blood fall into his mouth. Alarmed, the hunter realized that what he received in his mouth was blood. He then pushed her away and nervously asked what she thought she was doing. Feeling something strange, Leon accused her of casting a forbidden spell on him. She confirmed that it was the blood curse he was already familiar with. With that, the man's eyes began to glow intensely red. As he asked why, Rosweiss revealed that she had been bothered by the lingering sensation of the spell he had cast on her. Leon then asked her if she knew the price one had to pay for that spell. With a smile, she replied that she had modified the incantation to leave only the enchantment effect. Under the spell's influence, he said his body was burning and his mind was going blank. Rosweiss then touched his chest and confessed that she had always forced him to stay with her, even against his will. She then whispered that now she wanted him to obey. Although he had his hand on his chest, he let out a breathless laugh. Right after, Rosweiss teases him, asking if the brave dragon hunter can no longer control himself. Then she shows a magical artifact bought in the Sky City, capable of recording images for a while. Under pressure, he admits that he wants to kiss her. For a moment, the boy freezes, only able to say one word. With a smile, she asks him to repeat what he said louder. Immediately, he shouts that he wants to kiss her, but quickly denies that this was what he meant to say. As she holds his face in her hand, Rosweiss comments on how pathetic he has become, abandoning his pride to beg for a kiss. Then she states that she will not give him what he asked for. Faced with her refusal, the boy remains silent and unresponsive. In a sudden movement, he lunges forward and knocks her down while calling her name. Thus, the hunter pins her to the ground, completely breathless. Even in that position, she comments that impatience is not a typical attitude of his. While holding her hand, he confesses that he wants to kiss and embrace her. Finally, he says he wants to make love to her, and Rosweiss realizes that this reaction is the effect of the blood curse. With a smile, she says it seems like that day finally broke him. Because of that, she agrees to give in since she's being so insistently begged. Then she calls in a little puppy and asks him to show his true face when it's all over. Right after, the scene pulls away and reveals the grand castle where they are. Soon after, only the girl's hair is seen on the pillow. Suddenly, he wakes up in bed beside her. With his hand on his head, he laments that he once again fell into the same trap that night. Then he concludes that the blood curse made him abandon his hunter's pride and beg for her. Clenching his teeth, he realizes that this is yet another humiliation that surpasses his limits. Meanwhile, he sees that the cause of it all is sleeping peacefully after having her fun. Thus, he touches her face, noticing how completely defenseless she looks. Suddenly, the boy is startled by his own behavior. He immediately wonders what he is doing and why he instinctively started caressing the woman's face. He tries to convince himself that he just wanted to wake her up and that his gesture had no other meaning. However, he finds her lack of reaction strange and wonders if she's just pretending to sleep. With that, he orders her to stop pretending. Then he questions her, asking why she doesn't wake up since she's always so disciplined. Now standing, he wonders if the reason she isn't waking is the blood curse. Thus, he deduces that having the healthy body of a dragon queen, Rosweiss will remain unconscious for at least a week. The boy watches her in bed while thinking about the situation in silence. Soon, he realizes that this is the perfect moment to escape. Opening a drawer, he concludes that with the ebony and gold war chariot, his escape is entirely possible. Already dressed, he plans to combine potions to run at maximum speed back to human territory. Standing by the bed, he celebrates, saying that by the time she wakes up, it'll already be too late. He lets out a loud laugh, confident in his victory. However, the laugh cuts off midway. He then leans forward, head down. As he grabs a flask, he reflects that it has been 2 years since he left the Empire. He decides to be more cautious as returning rashly would be dangerous with so many mysteries surrounding his capture. Finally, he considers that perhaps it's better to wait, since he asked Rosweiss to investigate his master. At that moment, he realizes there's something much more important. In a memory, he sees Mune saying she's going to catch the butterfly, while No warns her not to fall. With that in mind, he states that he can't just leave the two of them behind. With arms crossed, he concludes that for now, he'll have to remain in the Silver Dragon's sanctuary. Looking at the sleeping girl, he thinks about getting revenge for what happened the night before. Then he teases her, asking if she doesn't agree with that. Meanwhile, Rosweiss continues sleeping deeply. Beside the bed, Mune asks if Mommy is okay, since she slept the entire day. At that moment, No turns to him and asks what the two of them did during the night. With a smile, the boy makes up a story that they were talking on the balcony and she ended up catching a cold. He then turns to the maid and asks if the girl's condition isn't anything serious. In response, Anna reassures him, explaining that the doctor already examined her and that despite the weakness, everything is normal. The maid offers to take care of the internal affairs and the hunter agrees, telling her to do whatever is necessary. By the bed, Mune asks her mother to get better soon, promising not to upset her anymore. Observing the situation, he notices that Rosweiss is sweating a lot and decides that he should clean her up later. Suspicious, Noah questions whether he's planning to take advantage of the situation to do something inappropriate. Immediately, he denies it, saying that she's overthinking and that he just wants to take care of the patient. Faced with that, Noah calls Mune to leave, saying they'll come back to see Mommy the next day. At the door, the little one says goodbye with a good night, Daddy, and he returns the gesture. Alone with the sleeping woman again, he ponders what to do now. Soon after, he decides to go get some water. After returning, he wrings out a damp cloth in a basin. While cleaning her, the boy says he's doing it so she doesn't catch a cold, asking not to be misunderstood. He then notices that she's so weak she can't even show the large tail she usually boasts. When he finishes, he considers that maybe he should change the girl's clothes as well. Opening the wardrobe, he sees there are many options and decides he can pick the one he likes best. Thus, he begins putting together an outfit with bare shoulders, a low neckline, and stockings. Soon he finds the right clothes to replace what's necessary, but wonders what to do about the ears. Grabbing her hair, he considers that maybe he could tie it up to solve the issue. With a satisfied smile, he announces that everything is ready. The boy then presents his creation, Rossweiss in her bunny girl version. However, he admits to himself that he didn't expect it, but she turned out very beautiful. Suddenly, a mark on his chest begins to glow. Grabbing his shirt, he wonders why the dragon mark is glowing right now. He remembers the explanation he was given, that the mark reacts when one of the bearers desires the other. Desperate, he denies having such thoughts while being conscious, blaming the bunny costume for the reaction. To regain control, he decides to recite the dragon hunter's code of honor 10 times. Relieved, he admits that he almost made a mistake, but regrets that dressing Rossweiss like this won't leave behind any memory. Meanwhile, she remains asleep in bed wearing the costume. Suddenly, he remembers there was a camera somewhere around. He quickly begins to look for the object. Shortly after, he finds the camera he was searching for. While taking several pictures, he celebrates, saying that now she's the one at a disadvantage. He then adjusts the girl's face with his finger, asking his darling to smile for the photo. With the camera in hand, he says he's going to make sure those photos are very well kept. At that moment, Rossweiss stirs and murmurs in her sleep. Seeing her move, the boy panics, wondering if she woke up too quickly. He leans in to check, but the girl remains completely asleep. With a hand to his chest, he sighs in relief upon realizing it was just a false alarm. Looking outside, he decides it's better to change her back into her pajamas and continue his revenge plan tomorrow. The next day, Moon runs down the hallway while calling for her sister. With arms crossed, Noah asks what happened and tells the little one to speak up. In response, Moon explains that her Rubik's Cube broke, and when she went to look for Daddy to fix it, she couldn't find him anywhere. Faced with this, Noah wonders if he took advantage of their mother being unconscious to escape. To reassure the younger girl, she says there's no need to worry and promises they'll look for him together. Thus, the two of them run down the castle hallway, calling out to find out where Daddy is. Looking for an empty room, Moon's voice calls out, asking where Daddy is. When they check their mother's bedroom, the girl comments that it seems he isn't there. Right after, they check another room, with Moon confirming that he's not there either. She even looks inside a large barrel, calling out for her father. Seeing the scene, Noah questions how he could possibly be inside there. With that, the younger sister wonders if he got lost, since they've searched everywhere. Then Noah explains that good people, sooner or later, always end up leaving, just like last time. Not understanding, Noon asks what she means by last time. Faced with her doubt, Noah states that, if her guess is correct, that man is already gone and he finally managed to escape, just like he always wanted. In her mind, the girl reflects that she always felt their family seemed harmonious, but in truth, it was full of falsehoods. She remembers that for as long as she can remember, their father was always sleeping, and their mother simply said he was their progenitor. The young girl recalls that on the day he woke up, he tried to escape, but was brought back, and since then, she felt that he never stayed there by his own will. After that, Noah remembers how he started getting closer, trying to please her and teach her things to act like a good father. However, she wonders if he did it out of love, or if he simply wanted them to let their guard down so he could find a chance to escape. The girl reflects that when love hides unknown motives, she would rather not receive it than become a tool. She understands that he doesn't belong to that place and that sooner or later, he will leave them and disappear. Crying, Moon laments that mommy won't wake up and daddy doesn't love them, asking her sister what they're going to do now. Then Noah holds the little one's face and comforts her, promising that her big sister will protect her. With that, Moon hugs her and begins to cry. As she wraps her arms around her, Noah firmly declares that they will hold a farewell ceremony for that man. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the mountains behind the Silver Dragon's sanctuary. With a map in hand, he comments that the place has a beautiful landscape and that the maid wasn't lying. The scene returns to an earlier moment when Leon asked Anna about the places Her Majesty visited most often. In the memory, the maid offers to send someone to accompany him, but he refuses and simply asks her to mark the spots on the map. He plans to take advantage of his mobility no longer being restricted to explore the area and prepare a surprise for Rossweiss. Then he reveals that the investigation into her favorite places is just a cover for his revenge plan. Finally, the boy decides that his real plan is to humiliate her in her favorite place, taking advantage of the fact that she'll wake up weakened. As he approaches a large tree, he comments that it looks thick enough. Imagining the scene, he concludes that the positioning is simply perfect. Assessing the area, he notes that the ground isn't soft, but adding flower peels will fix that issue. Observing the landscape, he comments that from there you can see the dragon's sanctuary in the mountain, which isn't bad at all. While analyzing the map, he decides to add that forest to his list of places. With everything ready, he says all that's left is for the woman to wake up so he can act. Then he declares with a smile that this time she won't win. Back at the sanctuary's courtyard, the boy hears the sound of crying coming from near a bonfire. As he approaches, he finds the maids and asks what's going on and why all the commotion. One of them explains that their highnesses asked for a funeral to be held and for a fire to be prepared. In front of a portrait, Moon cries, offering a steak and asking him to come back to see them. Next to the little one, Noah tells her sister to simply accept that he's already gone. Watching the scene, the boy wonders if they're playing house and decides to join in on the game a little. With that, he approaches and says, "Excuse me, which startles the maids who recognize him as the prince. Facing the girls, he asks who they are honoring and offers to play an instrument. Looking at the portrait on the table, the boy is surprised to realize that the person in the picture is himself. With a satisfied smile, he comments that he looks very handsome in the photo. But the realization suddenly hits him and he screams in desperation, not understanding why this is happening. Surprised, Moon points at him and shouts that Daddy has appeared. In a relaxed tone, Leon tells his dear daughters that a funeral was a bit much, since he was only gone for a day. With tears in her eyes, the little girl can only call out to him. She then runs into his arms, shouting that Daddy is back. Still in his embrace, Moon says she thought he didn't want her anymore. Caressing her head, he asks what kind of nonsense that is and how he could not want the two of them. Then Noah explains that they searched for him all over the sanctuary and thought he had already left. With that, she realizes she unjustly accused him. Picking Moon up, he tells everyone that it's all over and they can go. In her father's arms, the little one asks if she can eat her offerings now. As soon as he puts her down, she runs excitedly toward the table, while he reflects that she clearly inherited his gluttony. Soon after, Noah approaches and asks that next time he let them know before going out alone. She also adds that Myun was very worried about him. He apologizes for making her worry, while thinking that the older one is also worried, but too embarrassed to admit it. Finally, Noah admits that either way, it was her fault for not trusting him. Her apology completely takes him by surprise. With that, Leon realizes the farewell ceremony was just a misunderstanding that came to light because of her. He then understands that everything happened because, deep down, he didn't make her feel secure enough. He comes to understand that Noah desires affection, but will never take the first step and wouldn't believe in promises. Thus, he decides that, as a father, the only way to prove himself is by showing it through actions little by little. Caressing the girl's head, he reassures her, says they should have dinner together, and promises he'll always be there for them. The next day in the queen's room, Rosweiss begins to stir in her sleep. Slowly, the woman's eyes begin to open. Seeing her awake, Myun celebrates, shouting that Mommy finally woke up. Joyfully, she explains that her mother slept for a very long time, and that she was very worried. With a smile, Rosweiss apologizes to her daughter for making her worry. Right after, she realizes she's completely drained and can't feel the flow of her magic. She then deduces that her dragon queen body is weak because she used her power to save him from the effects of the curse. Beside the bed, Moon comments that knowing his personality, he's probably already escaped. Rosweiss then asks how long she was unconscious, and the little one replies that it was 2 whole days. While thinking that there's still time to capture him, Rosweiss invites Moon to have fish for dinner that night. Suddenly, Leon enters the room with a huge fish, announcing that he just caught it in the mountains. With enthusiasm, he asks if Daddy isn't amazing, and the daughter agrees, saying he's super amazing. At that moment, the boy turns and realizes the queen is awake. Surprised, she asks why he's still there, and he comments that she finally woke up. With a smile, he explains that he just went out to get some fresh air and took the chance to catch a fish for his dear wife. As she asks who this dear would be, Moon comments that her dad is shameless. Then Liam gives his daughter the mission of taking the fish to the kitchen. Excited, the little one says to leave it to her and accepts the task enthusiastically. As Moon leaves, the boy tells her to have dinner first because he and Mommy have some things to discuss. Alone with him, Rosweiss says she thought he would take advantage of her unconsciousness to abandon the girls and run away. Taking off his gloves, he questions how he could escape, since they still have many unresolved matters. Not understanding, she asks what unresolved matters he's referring to. He then reminds her of what she did when he woke up a month ago. With a panicked expression, Rosweiss begs him not to say he plans to do that. With a victorious smile, he confirms that it's exactly what she's thinking. Rosweiss warns him not to think he can take advantage of her just because she's weak, telling him not to do anything reckless. Immediately, Leon questions her use of the word weak. He then reminds her that he was also in a weakened state at the time, since she marked him with the dragon's seal without giving him a chance to refuse. In response, the woman warns that when she regains her strength, he will pay for it, so he better not do anything he might regret. The boy simply says he won't regret it, while calling her his dear wife. As he carries her in his arms, he states that this is the most right decision he has ever made in his life. He then declares that now it's her turn to be the prisoner of war. As he carries her through the cherry blossom forest in the mountain, Rosweiss orders him to put her down immediately. Even with her struggling, he warns her to stop moving or she'll end up falling. Rosweiss then declares that if she had already recovered her strength, he would have been sent flying with a single punch. Leon finally sets her down beneath a huge cherry blossom tree. As soon as she sits, the woman asks why she was brought to that place. He explains that he researched the places she liked visiting most while she was unconscious, and that this is the first destination of the night. At that, she questions what he means by first destination, asking if he's planning to take her to more places. Finally, the young man points to the distant shrine, explaining that from there you can see everything perfectly. Rosweiss then asks if he's trying to get revenge for what happened in his homeland. He confirms, asking whether returning the favor isn't a right exclusive to dragons. In response, the seal on his chest begins to glow. Liam then declares that even though he's human, he still has a strong sense-off. He holds her and tells her to look straight ahead. He points to the palace in the distance, describing it as the source of all her pride and dignity. As he pushes her forward, he asks how it feels to be defeated by a fallen dragon hunter. As he steps closer, he says that this is exactly what she once did to him. Rosweiss admits to herself that she wants to resist, but her body can't help wanting more. Resolute, she thinks to herself, if that's how it is, suddenly, her tail wraps around his body. Surprised, he wonders how she still has enough strength to use that appendage. Then he declares that the night is long and the feast of revenge is just beginning for Her Majesty. The next morning, the scene takes place in the Silver Dragon Queen's bedroom. Waking up beside her in bed, he celebrates that he's finally made it back. He reflects that he's exhausted after spending the entire night tormenting her from one place to another. Even so, he notices that she looks happy, still sleeping deeply. He convinces himself that she felt it all, and that either way, his revenge was a success. Beside him, the woman remains asleep. He decides that he needs to get back to his own room before the maids wake up. As he tries to get up, he feels his hand being held as she murmurs something. Half asleep, she complains that she's cold. Liam thinks it's just an instinct of a living being to seek warmth, and that he can't let himself be fooled again. Even so, his hand rests gently over hers. Upon waking up, Moon wonders if her mother still hasn't woken up. Outside, birds enjoy the morning sun by the window. With that, the girl remembers that she was taught to apply medicine in case of insect bites. Soon after, she announces that she found the ointment. Then she runs toward the bed. As she gets closer, she asks her mother to wake up, since the sun has already risen. Still drowsy, Rosweiss tells her daughter to go play with Daddy. Next, Mune tries to wake her father, saying that the sun is already shining on his butt. Leon just grumbles that it's warm and asks to sleep a little longer. Because of that, the girl gets annoyed and asks who's going to play with her if the two of them just stay snuggled up. With that, he kisses his wife's forehead while they cuddle. Moon watches and comments that it's the first time she's seen them being so affectionate. Right after, she asks why they have so many little red dots on their bodies. Suddenly, she concludes that they must be insect bites. Finally, she declares that they shouldn't worry. Since her sister's not around, she'll take care of them herself. So she starts applying the ointment, saying she'll put a little extra on Daddy. A while later, Rosweiss calls her husband and asks him to wake up. As soon as he opens his eyes, he asks why his face feels so wet. He quickly notices that both of them are covered in green ointment. Then he starts laughing and asks what happened to her face. Proudly, Moon explains that she put medicine on them, since they had lots of little red marks from insect bites. While Rosweiss questions the so-called marks, Leon says there are things children should know. With that, Moon asks if she wasn't amazing for helping them. The boy congratulates her, saying she did a good job. While the girl promises to apply the medicine again next time, the two adults conclude they'll need to keep the door well shut. Later, Leon appears with a bowl of food. He then offers a spoonful to his wife. Not understanding the gesture, she asks what that's about. He insists that she eats something, reminding her that it's been days and that, even as a dragon, she must be hungry. Still, Rosweiss says she doesn't need to be fed and that she can eat by herself. After tasting it, she admits the food isn't bad. To that, he replies, of course, it's fried rice made with all my love. Then she asks why he's eating too, and he explains that he's just helping. She demands another spoonful. Soon after, they finish all the food in the bowl. Leon then reminds her that over these past days, he took care of her, helping her bathe, cooking, and even feeding her. With that, Rosweiss asks if he's talking about the bathing or the torment in bed, admitting that in the end, it was all a bit excessive. Leon denies that any of it was torture, claiming it was simply a husband's loving care. As he says goodbye, Rosweiss warns him that every time he acts like an idiot, she'll gain another reason to humiliate him in the future. Alone in the room, she calls him a damn dragon hunter, admitting that he really does have a talent for tormenting her. Then she punches the headboard hard. The impact causes the wood to crack instantly. Surprised, she looks at the damage she just caused. Suddenly, she realizes that her strength has finally returned. Meanwhile, Leon calmly washes the dishes in the kitchen. He then hopes that the dragoness won't recover too quickly, so he can enjoy a few more fun days, completely unaware of how serious the situation has just become. Later, at the palace, the maid Anna apologized to Her Majesty. She then handed over a medicine prescribed by the doctor, explaining that it would help her regain her strength. However, the woman refused, stating that her body had already recovered and she no longer needed to take it. At that, the servant noticed the crack in the headboard and asked what that was. Rosweiss admitted to having overdone it a bit with her strength and asked for someone to be called the next day to repair it. Just as the maid turned to leave, she was called back. Hidden behind a book, the queen asked her not to tell Leon about her recovery because she wanted him to keep taking care of her for a few more days. Anna reacted with a surprised expression. With a smile, the maid replied that she understood the message. The dragoness then thought to herself that her husband's days of peace were numbered. 2 days later, Mune ran up to her father and asked to learn how to make her body glow. Liam asked if she was referring to the magic key and her mother had shown during the training session. He then asked why she suddenly wanted to learn magic. The girl explained that her sister had learned many things at school and she didn't want to be left behind. The man understood and confirmed that she also wanted to learn something, to which Moon excitedly agreed. Reflecting on this, he concluded that the rivalry between the sisters was actually an advantage, since the younger one admired her sister so much that she didn't want to fall behind. Because of that, the father enthusiastically agreed to teach magic, explaining that they would start with the basics of mana channeling. A while later, the little one worked hard to follow the training instructions. Leon was impressed, Within just a few hours, his daughter was already channeling mana with ease and might soon awaken her power. Faced with such progress, he wondered if his girl was a genius. He was then interrupted when she announced that she was hungry and out of energy. Leo decided there was no need to rush to training. Soon, he announced that they would stop for the day and go eat something, while Moon cheered that Daddy was the best. Back in the room, Anna delivered what had been requested, and Rossweiss simply told her to leave it in a corner. As soon as Leon arrived and announced himself, his wife dismissed the maid. He then thought that, according to Anna, Rossweiss would still take 5 more days to recover, which gave him time to keep teasing her. With that in mind, he approached and offered a massage in case she was still feeling sore. The warrior challenged him, questioning why he didn't show any power, and calling him a disappointment for not being able to last more than 2 days. Surprised, he asked her to repeat what he had just heard. He then called her Mommy Dragon and said he had thought about letting her rest, but apparently he was mistaken. Holding her by the chin, Leon supposed that if she could talk that tough, her body must be equally resilient. As he took off his shirt, Leon warned that she would regret saying that. With a smile on her face, the woman replied that she never regrets anything. Suddenly, Rossweiss's tail wrapped around his waist, catching him by surprise. With a quick movement, she forcefully threw him onto the bed using her tail. As she pinned him down, her husband was stunned by the strength she was showing. With that, he finally realized and asked her if she had already fully recovered. Rossweiss then silenced him, saying that a prisoner should know how to stay quiet. Beside the bed, a set of restraint items was already prepared on a tray. Surprised, he asked when she had gotten all that ready. With his wrists and ankles bound, he began to wonder if he had just walked straight into the lion's den. As she looked down at him, the dragoness warned him not to try resisting. With that, Leon asked if she was planning to torture him in order to extract information. Tied to the bed, Leon warned her that he had undergone specialized training and would never give in, but Rossweiss simply asked if he was sure. At that, a recording from the magic crystal began to play a memory where he declared that he wanted to kiss her. Realizing what it was, he begged her to hand over the object. The woman then teased him, asking who that was begging for her. In the recording, Leon's voice kept stammering her name. Desperately, he denied it, claiming that it couldn't be him and that they just looked alike. Rossweiss then asked if he wanted to see the scene up close. The image continued, showing the boy saying he wanted to hug her, kiss her, and become one with her. At that point, the prisoner surrendered and said there was no need to continue as he remembered everything. The dragoness remarked that it was good he remembered, then picked up a whip from beside the bed. She then ordered him to repeat several times what he had said in the recording. She teased him again, offering to summarize like a teacher if he couldn't recall. The scene showed the silhouettes of the two behind a divider. The light of the lamp illuminated the room during the night. Moments later, Leon appeared lying on the bed, completely exhausted. As he rested, Rossweiss received a letter delivered by a messenger dragon. Soon her husband asked if the letter was from the academy and why a messenger had been sent so late. She informed him that the academy had requested their presence the following day. She then revealed that Noah had gotten into a fight with someone, leaving him completely stunned by the news. Meanwhile, in Vice Principal Wilson's office, Noah waited silently. Across from her, 3 horned boys appeared injured and bandaged. The vice principal then explained that he had called them in to discuss the incident involving the girl's fight with her classmates. At that, Rossweiss began questioning him about what exactly he meant. She also wanted to know if those 3 young dragons had gamed up to bully her daughter. While Leon looked over Noah with concern, the girl stated that she wasn't hurt and was doing fine. The educator then clarified the situation, revealing that, in truth, it was their daughter who had beaten up the 3 boys. Upon hearing the truth, Rossweiss simply asked if that was all. After the revelation, father and daughter sat silently side by side. Soon after, Leon praised Noah for the good job, confirming that she was indeed his daughter. Finally, the vice principal explained that the incident, though small, highlighted the tensions between dragons born from cocoons and those from wombs. He went on to say that dragons reproduce in both ways, and while there's no difference in adulthood, their abilities vary in youth. The principal continued, explaining that cocoon-born dragons inherit strength from their mothers, while womb-born dragons have to learn it, making the former stronger at the same age. He concluded that even though she was womb-born, the girl had faced 3 older cocoon-born opponents, making her future look very promising. Suddenly, the father of one of the boys arrived and offered to pay for the medical expenses, minimizing the situation. However, as soon as he saw his son's condition, the man questioned him about how he ended up like that. At that, the boy ran crying into his father's arms. While Rossweiss whispered that the boy belonged to the family of the Crimson Dragon King, Leon quietly responded that he had killed so many dragons from that clan that they could circle the academy twice. The nobleman then turned to the queen and asked how she could allow her daughter to intimidate other dragons. Leon quickly stepped in, provoking him by saying that since they weren't strong, they sent their little kids to bother his. At that, the student's father demanded an apology, but Leon challenged him, stating that his fists were itching for a fight. In response, the vice principal slammed his hand on the desk and ordered everyone to be quiet. He then asked the parents to calm down and listen to the full story. He reported that in the cafeteria, student Laurel and his friends had gotten into an argument with Noah after her tray stained his clothes. Continuing, he explained that later, when returning to the dormitories, the three boys cornered the girl in a courtyard and a fight broke out. After finishing his explanation, the educator asked if the boys had anything to say, but they silently shook their heads. At that moment, Noah raised her hand and told the director she had something to declare. Vice Principal Wilson turned to the girl and asked if Noah had something to say. Noah then explained that Laurel had provoked her on purpose in the cafeteria and later attacked her in the courtyard, stating that she had only defended herself. She then stared at the boy and demanded he confirm whether or not that was true. As Laurel silently nodded, his father asked him why he was so afraid of her. Suddenly, Leon stepped in and told his daughter that he thought she had made a mistake. The girl simply looked at him in silence, waiting for his next words. Her father advised her to aim for the opponent's knee next time something like that happened, making Noah ask why. He explained that a crimson dragon who injures their knee in battle only ends up getting beaten badly, and she quickly took note of the advice. Outraged, Laurel's father accused Leon of teaching his daughter to intimidate his son in front of everyone. He then demanded that a violent student like her be expelled immediately. The vice principal asked for calm, stating that only the academy had the authority to decide on a student's expulsion. Wilson then revealed that several students have reported Laurel's habit of bothering others, and witnesses confirmed that he provoked Noah first. The boy's father shouted, questioning whether the academy wouldn't punish the girl, and was now blaming his son. Liam confronted him, asking what he was complaining about if his daughter, just 1 year and 2 months old, had beaten up his son. At that, Laurel interrupted to reveal that he was 7 years and 11 months old. The man then remarked that if something that humiliating had happened to him, he'd dig a 3,000-meter hole and bury himself so no one would know. Laurel's father retorted, saying that someone who doesn't have the courage to show his own tail has no right to speak about his son. He then pointed toward Rossweiss and Noah, declaring that their whole family was nothing but trash. Liam then grabbed the man's hand, saying he might let the insult slide if it were only toward him, but not when it came to his wife and daughter. Watching the scene, Rossweiss commented that her husband was very protective of his family. The nobleman then demanded to know how Leon dared lay hands on him and if he had any idea who he was speaking to. He quickly became enraged, declaring himself a Duke of the Crimson Dragon clan, while Leon stared at him mockingly. At that moment, Rossweiss turned to Leon and called him Father, Sir. She warned that this was merely a minor dispute between students and that involving family status and rank wouldn't help anything. Rossweiss told the vice principal that she trusted the academy's judgment and would accept whatever decision they reached. The educator then warned the man that if he insisted on creating a scandal, he would only make matters worse. Wilson added that his son might even lose the right to study at the academy. At that, Laurel tugged at his father and asked to let it go, saying he wanted to stay in school. The man finally relented, admitting that he had lost his temper and would accept whatever the school decided. In the end, he looked at the group and stated that he would take his leave for now, but that this wasn't over. The vice principal summarized the situation, saying that Laurel had instigated the conflict and Noah had defended herself, though she had overreacted. With that, he ruled that the girl would receive a verbal warning from her teacher and should reflect on her actions. As for Laurel and his friends, they were to write a self-criticism report and take charge of cleaning the classroom, this being the final decision. Noah said goodbye, stating that she would return to class, and her mother gave her permission to leave. As she walked away, Leon shouted that if they bothered her again, she should go for their knees first. Suddenly, the vice principal appeared behind him and called his name, making him jump in surprise. Liam turned and asked if Wilson needed something. The educator then said that he had always had a question about him since he'd never shown his tail. The question left Leon speechless for a moment. Then Wilson asked what dragon clan he belonged to if it wasn't too much to ask. Rossweiss intervened, stating that her husband was a common dragon, and Leon agreed, saying he was just a simple commoner. The vice principal accepted the answer and remarked that, in that case, it was a miracle they had a daughter with such talent. He then said that the academy welcomed children like her and suggested the couple should have more kids. He continued his speech, saying he was fully confident that when Noah graduated, she would lead the dragons to defeat even more hunters, causing the father to simply respond with a thank you. From a distance, Laurel's father watched the trio talking in the corridor. He then turned to his entourage and ordered them to leave. At the academy's entrance, Leon and Rossweiss calmly made their way out. As they exited, Laurel's father intercepted them and called out to the Queen of the Silver Dragons. Rossweiss stared at him and asked if he still had something to say. The man then replied that the agreement made in the office was merely a formality to avoid trouble with the academy. He then warned that now that they were outside, they would settle things the dragon way. With that, the nobleman pointed at Leon and challenged him to a duel right there. The queen considered that refusing the challenge would lead to rumors spreading that the Silver Dragons were weak. Their rival taunted them, asking if they were going to back down. In a low voice, Rossweiss asked her husband if he really wanted to accept the fight. Liam replied that since the man had offered himself, he would gladly accept. His wife agreed with the decision but asked him please not to kill him. Meanwhile, Other students rushed to the entrance, saying they had heard about a duel and had to watch. Hearing about the fight, Noah suspected it might involve her parents. Up on a balcony, a group of students pointed at the scene and wondered who was involved. The challenger assessed Leon as someone weak, all talk, and too cowardly to show his tail. He declared that since his son had lost, he would beat up the girl's father to restore the family's honor. He then turned to his opponent and proposed that if Leon could last 3 rounds, he considered the match lost. Leon interrupted with disdain and asked to cut to the point. He then provoked him to start already, which angered the other man. The noble shouted that this was too much. He charged forward with a flaming punch aimed at Leon. As Leon blocked the attack, the challenger thought to himself that Leon was much weaker than the dragons he faced before. The combatants smiled, remembering there were still 2 rounds left. Frustrated as Leon stepped away, the opponent accused him of running. He then mocked him, asking if he belonged to the clan of cowardly turtles while striking the ground. Leon leaped into the air to avoid the shockwave. Immediately, the nobleman launched a blast of fire toward him. Leon stared at the approaching fire without flinching. However, he dodged it easily and reappeared beside his opponent. Leon then announced it was his turn to attack. He landed a direct kick to the noble's knee, making the man scream from the blow. Kneeling on the ground, the man stared at him in disbelief. Without giving him time to recover, Leon followed up with a prepared punch. He struck the rival's face with such force that it sent the man flying from the impact. Leon then brushed off his hands and stated that for someone at that level, he hadn't even needed to use magic. Panicking, the nobleman's retainers shouted Duke Leo's name. Leon turned to them and asked if they wanted to try as well. They immediately declined, saying they didn't want to fight at all. Leon then ordered them to take the Duke and get out and to tell his son not to bother his daughter again. Satisfied, he turned and said they could go now. However, he was surprised to see Noah standing there and asked when she had arrived. The girl replied that she had just been passing by when she saw the commotion. Noah then offered a box to her parents and said it was for them. Opening the gift, Roswaysa found a large heart-shaped cookie. The daughter explained that she had made the cookies in cooking class, and since she came in second place, they might not be that good, but she asked them to try anyway. Roswaysa disagreed, saying they were very good, and insisted that Leon try a piece too. Her husband agreed that something made by their daughter couldn't be anything but delicious, promising that next time she win first place. Then Noah turned to him and complimented him, saying that just now he had been amazing. The unexpected praise left Leon speechless for a moment. Soon he lit up with joy at his daughter's words. Regaining his composure, he showed off and replied that of course her dad was amazing. As he patted Noah's head, he offered to teach her any combat technique she wanted to learn. Hearing this, Roswaysa just watched him in silence with a serious expression. Sometime later, Leon was sitting on a sofa, calmly reading a book. Then Roswaysa approached and asked if his hand was hurt, catching him by surprise. He looked at the wound and replied that it was something small and would heal in a few days. Right away, the woman prepared some cotton with medicine to treat the injury. As she came closer, the hunter reflected that, as someone who fights dragons, he had many scars and used to treat them carelessly. It was then that he realized this was the first time someone had taken care of him so gently. In that moment, he noticed how soft and warm her hand felt as she treated him. Roswaysa thanked him for protecting her, but he replied that it was simply his duty. After all, in front of others, she was still his wife. Soon after, she told him her sister had invited them, and upon hearing that they might settle a few scores, he changed his mind and accepted the invitation. With that, they set off and soon arrived at the vast territory of the Red Dragons. As they reached their destination, he, holding Mium, announced that they had arrived and asked the girl to wake up. Soon, the older sister approached and greeted his dragon form, calling him Xiao Luo. Next, she commented that her own dragon form was still incredible. Suddenly, Roswaysa appeared in her human form and was hugged by her sister, who praised her while she complained that it tickled. Then the woman introduced her husband, who was greeted enthusiastically and told it was a pleasure to finally meet him awake. The hostess then hugged one of the girls, guessing she was Moon, and the other Noah, with the little one confirming that their aunt had guessed right. Soon after, the aunt turned to Noah and asked if she could hug her too. Excited, she celebrated, saying that being able to hug 2 little dragon girls at once was pure happiness. The hostess then turned to Leon and thanked him for his efforts, commenting that she had heard he took care of the girls most of the time. With that, Roswaysa claimed she was sure the girls got along better with her, but he immediately countered, saying that made no sense. As she challenged him, her husband gave in, and their sister commented on how well the 2 of them got along. The wife then timidly agreed that they got along just a little. Right after, the sister invited them in, saying they must be tired after such a long trip. Suddenly, Moon shouted excitedly that she wanted to see what Auntie had to show them, while Roswaysa reacted in shock. Then she demanded that her sister hand over the photos she was hiding, only to be teased as her sister remarked that she looked embarrassed. Thus, the hostess ran through the hall, chased by her sister, who was trying to get the photos back. Although Leon commented that he hadn't expected that side of his dear wife, the girls excitedly asked to see it too. In response, he showed them the photo and teased the Valkyrie, saying how full of energy she looked back when she was a student. Next, he revealed it was an image of her giving a speech as an outstanding student. After that, he asked her how she had ended up becoming so cold and distant before shouting as the photo was snatched back from him. In a low voice, the blonde warned him not to get too smug as he might be the next one her sister decided to tease. Then the aunt revealed that she still had many more photos from the time when their mother was little, encouraging the girls to keep looking. When they came across the baby pictures, one of the girls commented on how tiny their mom was, while Moon said she wanted to squeeze her. Leon joined them and remarked that mommy looked super stylish in one of the photos as Moon moved closer, asking to see. Soon, the sister explained that the picture was from the day Rosweiss inherited the title of Queen of the Silver Dragons. Leon was impressed by the scene and admitted she really did look amazing. When they realized it was the last page, Moon complained that there weren't more photos of their mom to see. Then Rosweiss took the album and said that since they had finished, her sister should put the pictures away safely. However, the sister revealed they weren't finished yet and asked if they knew what she was holding. Without hesitation, Leon excitedly answered that he knew. It was a recording stone. The aunt then asked the girls if they wanted to see moving images of their mom, and both eagerly said yes. Rosweiss begged her sister not to show what was on the stone, reminding her that she was the youngest. Leon immediately pleaded with his sister-in-law to show them what was inside, concluding that Rosweiss's protest meant it had to be something embarrassing. The blonde shouted her sister's name in protest, while the other smiled at her. Deciding, the sister stated that since it was Leon's first visit to the house, she would honor his request and save the youngest's wish for next time. Leon cheered at the decision, while Rosweiss warned that she wouldn't bring him there again next time. With that, the recording stone was activated. The moment the projection began, the sister announced that it was a super valuable video. Rosweiss instantly recognized the place shown in the recording. She immediately tried to cover Leon's eyes and shouted at him not to watch it, but he insisted on knowing what it was. In the recording, the sister asked a young Rosweiss how she would choose a husband in the future, leaving her embarrassed. In response, the girl stated that first, the person had to have better grades than hers and must have placed first many times. She continued by saying the person needed to have a sense of responsibility and not hate children, prompting one of the daughters to notice that it was exactly what their mom said about dad. Soon, the recording revealed that the husband should be powerful without abusing that power, making Leon proudly say she was obviously talking about him. The sister then commented that those three qualities were very rare, since many people ended up being corrupted by power. At the end of the recording, young Rosweiss declared that if no one like that existed, she wouldn't force herself to get married. The video ended with her firm declaration that if she ever did marry, it would only be to someone like that. Hearing this, Leon was visibly moved by her final words. He realized they had been her ideal of perfection from the very beginning. Even so, Rosweiss insisted it was just a silly thing she had said when she was younger, but he reassured her, saying there was no need to feel embarrassed. Then the sister revealed her curiosity, asking who had pursued whom first. Immediately, the two pointed at each other and shouted that it was the other who did the chasing. She then challenged him to repeat what he had just said, if he had the courage. Faced with the challenge, Leon quickly changed his story, admitting it was she who chased him first, but that he regretted it and ended up pursuing her later. Seeing the scene, the hostess commented that just as she thought the two of them got along really well, something they both denied in unison. The older sister then offered to show the love letters Rosweiss used to receive, making her question why she had kept those two. Unable to contain herself, the Valkyrie screamed, demanding that they let her burn all those letters immediately. Later, in a low voice, Leon told her that there was no way around it. They'd have to share a room that night. When they entered the room, they found it completely decorated in an overly romantic and unexpected way. Shocked by what they saw, both of them asked what on earth was going on. As soon as she entered the room, Rosweiss asked her sister what happened to that place. In response, she said she had specially prepared the guest room for them to stay in for a few days. Right away, the Valkyrie asked if there wasn't another room available, but her sister insisted they shouldn't be shy. After all, they were married. At that, Rosweiss realized she had let her guard down and that dealing with her sister wasn't easy. Next, the hostess revealed her plan to lock them in so they could fulfill their mission of reviving the race. Immediately, Leon declared he wanted to leave and tried to escape the room. However, his sister-in-law appeared behind him and blocked the way, asking where he thought he was going. The boy tried to use the daughters as an excuse, but the woman reassured him, saying she had prepared a room full of toys for them. Meanwhile, Moon and Noah were having fun in their own space, working on a puzzle. Then the sister locked the couple inside, telling them to rest well in there. Alone in the room, both sighed, defeated by the situation. Liam concluded that they had no choice but to sleep there, admitting that his sister-in-law was extremely strategic. As she opened a wardrobe, the Valkyrie commented that her sister had always been like that, and that he would understand better over time. Suddenly, she slammed the wardrobe shut, leaving Leon confused by her sudden reaction. Rosweiss then informed him that since there was only one bed, he would have to sleep in the bathtub. Frustrated, Leon asked why he was the one who had to take the bathtub. He then pointed out that the drain was plugged and the tub was full, proving that his sister-in-law clearly wanted them to sleep together. As he approached the bed, he noticed it seemed different than usual. Soon, he wondered if it might be a waterbed. Without thinking, he threw himself onto the mattress, exclaiming how soft and bouncy it was while she watched him closely. He then said he wouldn't let her enjoy the bed alone and suggested they sleep together. Suspicious, she asked why he had changed his mind and whether he was planning something. Impatient, the Valkyries simply asked if he wanted to sleep or not. She then suggested they play with the items in the wardrobe, causing him to back away and say that wouldn't be necessary. She decided to take a shower first and warned him not to peek. He replied that he didn't even feel like it. Not believing him, the girl told him to go take a walk before bed and kicked him out of the room. Now outside on the balcony, Leon remarked that he'd seen her so many times that she didn't even catch his attention anymore. Suddenly, he sensed another presence. It was Ross Weiss's sister, watching him in silence. The sister-in-law asked why he had come out, and Leon answered that his wife was in the bath and he had just stepped out for some air. She then approached with a bottle of wine and invited him to have a drink. With a smile, Leon accepted the offer right away. As she poured the wine, she mentioned it was the Valkyrie's favorite. He thanked her as he took the glass. Soon, the boy commented that the two of them seemed to get along really well, and the sister confirmed it, saying they used to drink and talk out here often. Next, she shared that she had watched Ross Weiss grow up and that after she became queen, they mostly exchanged letters until the announcement of her marriage and pregnancy. The woman continued, explaining that even after the wedding, her sister's sadness could be felt through the letters. She then revealed that Ross Weiss had told her the husband was sick and slept a lot, leaving her alone during the difficult pregnancy with twins. At that, Leon realized just how hard it must have been for his partner to go through it all without him, relying only on her sister to confide in. The hostess confessed that back then, she thought her sister had married a lazy and irresponsible dragon. He laughed and asked if he really looked like that kind of dragon. Soon, the woman admitted that after spending some time with him, she realized he wasn't garbage, and that maybe there was a reason behind it all. She concluded by saying it only confirmed how much the queen truly cared about him. Leon paused mid-sip, processing what he had just heard. Then he quietly wondered to himself whether Roseweiss really liked him that much. Even so, he dismisses the idea, insisting it's impossible that that dragon mother could like him. His sister-in-law teases him, asking if he feels sorry for himself, but Leon retorts that she knows nothing about her own sister. Still, he admits that in front of her they must pretend they get along well. Soon after, he shifts tone and declares to the hostess that their love is real. She responds she already knew by the way they treat each other. Then she explains that Roseweiss is terrible at expressing emotions, and he is the first person she ever treated in that way. Next, she reminds him of his responsibility as a man, making him conclude he'll be killed if he refuses. Still, Leon reassures her, promising that although he wasn't by his wife's side during the first pregnancy, he will be if there is a second one. He swears to protect his companion and daughters with his own life. His sister-in-law only says she hopes he truly keeps that promise. Afterward, she tells him to stop boasting and go back to the room before his wife becomes impatient. Just as he is about to leave, the sister-in-law calls him back to say one more thing. Curious, Leon turns and asks what else she has to say. Finally, she advises him not to hold back tonight, saying the room's sound isolation is incredible. The remark about incredible isolation leaves him utterly speechless. He just closes his eyes tightly, unsure how to respond. As the castle is shown at night, Leon silently expresses gratitude for the help. Then he quietly returns to the room, finding Roseweiss already asleep in bed. As he approaches, he wonders if she's really asleep already. Soon he concludes he won't suffer tonight, admitting she looks very beautiful sleeping. The Valkyrie remains lying there in a deep sleep. Suddenly, something in the bed catches his attention. He wonders why her chest is glowing under the blanket. Immediately, he asks himself whether the dragon's seal has somehow activated. However, he notices his own seal is not reacting and tries to understand what's happening. With no other option, he extends his hand to investigate the light under the sheet. To his surprise, Roseweiss opens her eyes and greets him with a simple hello. Startled, Leon asks why she frightened him by hiding that lamp under the blanket. She then reveals she found the item among the toys and just wanted to play a trick. Next, she teases him, saying by his reaction, he didn't seem at all disappointed. Immediately, he denies the accusation, insisting it isn't true. Then he covers himself and says he's going to sleep, asking her not to talk to him anymore. Roseweiss warns him not to regret it and try to attack her in the middle of the night. Suddenly, a spider lands right in front of her, leaving her confused about what it is. Once she realizes what it is, she begins to scream. At the scream, Leon jumps up, startled, and asks what happened. In the next moment, Roseweiss leaps into his arms, leaving him even more confused. Still clinging to him, the girl warns there is a spider in the room. Leon then recalls seeing in the album a photo of her crying because of a spider, wondering if it's an old childhood trauma. Thus, he concludes that even the queen of the silver dragons has fears. He says there's no choice and that he will catch the creature, while the Valkyrie asks him to hurry. As he approaches, the boy picks up the spider with his hand. Holding it, he realizes it isn't what it seemed. As soon as he reveals the creature, Leon explains it's just a toy spider and she doesn't need to be afraid. Still, Rossweiss refuses to listen and orders him to get rid of it immediately. Real or not. Seeing her reaction, he calms her down and promises to throw the toy out at once. With that, he tosses the spider out the window. Then he turns to his companion and says the threat is gone, asking if now she can sleep. Soon he wonders if that spider was also part of the sister-in-law's plan. He concludes the intention was to make Rossweiss reveal her more fragile, vulnerable side. Now calmer, the girl asks if she can sleep inside the bed while he stays outside. Leon easily agrees, saying she can sleep wherever she wants. Moments later, the two lie down in the same bed, each turn to their own side. After a while, he turns and asks if she wants to hold his hand if she's still scared. The Valkyrie looks at him for a moment without answering right away. Then she accepts the gesture, saying she will since he insists. Her hand finds his beneath the blanket. He then asks if holding just his pinky finger will make her feel safe, and she asks what he thinks it should be like. He calls her silly and shows that the proper way to hold hands is to intertwine their fingers. Then the two lie in silence, just looking at each other while holding hands. She wonders aloud how he can hold her so naturally, questioning whether she's the only one who feels that way. Soon she scolds herself, reminding that she is the queen of dragons and there's nothing shameful about holding a hand. He then asks why her hand is so cold, but seeing her sweating, Rossweiss reveals that the cold hand is actually his nervous one. Feeling the touch, she notices that his hand bears the calluses and scars of a sword wielder, stiff yet warm. She then realizes that where their fingers interlace, it's as if a current flows across her skin. The girl falls silent, only reacting to that sensation of touch. As the night passes, Leon asks her about her criteria for a partner, but she says she was joking and now has none at all. Thus, the night continues and the two remain lying silently. Even trying, he realizes he can't sleep at all. He looks to the side and wonders if Rossweiss has already fallen asleep. Then he notices his fingers going numb from staying in the same position and decides to shift them a little. Pretending to sleep, Rossweiss wonders why, instead of just holding her hand, he is now poking it. Finally, she concludes that the prisoner dares to touch his mistress. Determined, she thinks fine. Then she will touch him too. In the next moment, Leon jolts as he feels her touch. Confused, he wonders what is happening and why the Valkyrie is caressing his hand. He notices her body is so soft and that where they touch, he feels a pleasant sensation. With that, a strange desire begins to grow rapidly inside him. At the same time, the desire is mutual and both think the same thing. Soon the thought evolves and they both feel they want to go beyond that simple touch. Next, their faces draw close slowly as they gaze at each other in silence. Liam then takes the initiative and moves over her, pulling the blanket over them. Before kissing her, he thinks he will surrender to the moment, just for tonight. Then the boy positions himself over Rossweiss on the bed, ready to move forward. Meanwhile, she just softly whispers his name. In response, Leon agrees with a low hum, leaning closer to her. Even knowing what's about to happen, he's surprised that his dragon mark isn't reacting at all. It's soon revealed that the mark only spices things up and isn't activated when two people truly love each other. However, the moment is interrupted when the toy spider falls right between them. With a scream echoing through the house, he quickly assures her there's no need to be afraid as he already grabbed the spider. Outside the room, Rossweiss's sister concludes they've likely discovered the little surprise she set up. Back in the room, Leon holds her and comforts her, saying there's nothing to fear and everything is fine now. As the spider rests in the garden, he says he's checked everything and there are no more traps. He just continues holding her gently in silence. Nestled against his chest, the Valkyrie comments that his heart is beating very fast. He then confesses that he's also afraid of spiders. After hearing the confession, she decides not to pull stunts like that on him anymore. Finally, he asks her not to talk about what happened, and Rossweiss assures him she understands. When morning comes, sunlight filters through the bedroom window. Suddenly, she opens her eyes. As she sits up in bed, she wonders when she fell asleep. Next, she asks herself if that guy woke up early. Still, she concludes it's better if he's already left. She admits that after what happened, she doesn't know how to face him. As she gets up, she reflects that it was the first time she broke her own principles. While getting dressed, she laments having shown weakness to a human fallen asleep in his arms. Fully ready, she decides that it's far too embarrassing and that she can't tell anyone. As soon as she opens the door, her sister surprises her, asking if she's already up. Immediately afterward, her sister-in-law asks how her exciting night was. Rossweiss replies that it was very exciting, but she doesn't want it to happen again. Her sister then whispers if they use the toys, and she quickly denies it. With that, the sister promises to pack toys for practice and already asks about the next baby hair. Embarrassed, Rossweiss grabs her arm, saying there's no need to worry about that, and invites her for breakfast. In the dining hall of the Red Dragon Sanctuary, Leon spends time with the girls while they wait for the meal. He gently squeezes Mewin's cheeks, and she opens her mouth in reaction. As soon as Rosweiss and her sister enter the hall, Moon announces excitedly that Mommy and Auntie have arrived. Immediately after, the little girl asks happily if they can start eating now. Then the whole family sits at the table to eat breakfast in silence. While eating, the couple avoids eye contact with each other. Chewing, Leon thinks about how embarrassing the whole situation is. He remembers how last night, due to the atmosphere, he almost kissed her and ended up falling asleep while hugging her. With that, his conscience splits. One side accuses him of betraying his homeland, and the other reminds him that they're married. While the inner conflict rages on, he just notices the bread is a bit bland. He decides to add some peanut butter to improve the taste. However, as he reaches for the jar, Rosweiss stops him by placing her hand on his. The sudden touch surprises them both, confused by each other's reaction. Her sister then reveals the bed's secret, explaining she made the waterbed to help the couple's hearts race. She continues saying there are buttons at the edges of the bed that release toy spiders to scare Rosweiss. Finally, the sister-in-law explains that the mechanism only doesn't activate if they're hugging, leaving Rosweiss furious at the unnecessary plan. During the meal, Leon insisted that Rosweiss serve herself first, and she agreed to the suggestion. Soon after, her sister approached and asked why the two of them were blushing. Quickly, the warrior agreed that the place was quite hot, and Leon also confirmed that it was true. Then her relative suggested they return to the room for a bath, but both of them instantly rejected the idea. For Rosweiss's sister, no matter how many times she teases them, the couple's reactions are always entertaining. Changing the subject, she asked Leon if it was true that they had a disagreement with the Crimson Dragon clan. Next, she told how No defended herself from the Duke's son, while her partner bragged about easily defeating the Duke afterward. With that, her sister praised Noah, saying she was truly amazing. She then explained that the Duke went straight to the leader Constantine, exaggerated the events, and that Rosweiss insulted him. Liam recalled reading in the history of dragons that Constantine was a hero who expanded the clan's territories. Her sister warned them that Constantine had been trying to extend his domain and might use the incident as an excuse to stir up conflict. Rosweiss then began to declare what would happen if he dared attack her sanctuary because of a duke. She concluded that she wouldn't hesitate to give the Crimson Dragon clan a proper lesson. The group then reached the main entrance of the Red Dragon sanctuary. At the farewell, her sister asked them to return safely, and Rosweiss promised they would visit again another day. Right afterward, she handed them a farewell gift and asked them to only open it once they were home, while the warrior thanked her. She also told the twins to eat plenty of meat so they could grow up strong and come back to play again. Moon promptly stated that she would eat a lot more, while Noah simply nodded. Lastly, her sister turned to Leon to give him one final message. She reminded him not to forget the promise he made, and the young man assured her he would keep it. Rosweiss watched the conversation, not understanding what it was about. The girls waved goodbye to their aunt as they flew off, and her sister wished them a safe journey. Back inside, she walked through the now empty hall. As she walked, she commented to herself on how adorable the little dragon girls were. Then she wondered when the couple's next child would be born. Suddenly, a spider descended from the ceiling, stopping right in front of her. Upon picking it up, she realized Leon truly protected his wife with great courage. Far away, Leon suddenly sneezed for no apparent reason. With the girls asleep in his lap, he wondered whether her sister had already discovered the surprise he left for her. At that moment, he reflected on how Rosweiss and her sister were completely different from the Dragon Kings he had known before. He continued thinking, realizing that they valued family above all else and showed sincere love. In a low voice, he admitted he could barely believe the amount of trust her sister had placed in him. Already in the sky, Rosweiss began to question him about what happened as they were leaving. Soon after, she directly asked what he had promised her sister, but Leon only replied provocatively, asking if she really wanted to know. He then stated that he wouldn't tell her, leaving his partner furious with him. By nightfall, they finally arrived back at their sanctuary. The twins were already peacefully asleep in their bed. As she exited the room, Rosweiss closed the door and found Leon waiting for her outside. Seeing the scene, she hesitated for a moment, and he simply encouraged her to move forward. Right afterward, he revealed his revenge plan and asked her to give a live performance of the embarrassing video from the day before. With that, he began imitating the video scene in which a young Rosweiss sang about loving to take baths and scrubbing her butt. Faced with the provocation, the warrior could only scream his name. Meanwhile, at the Red Dragon Sanctuary, her sister invited Moon to watch more videos of Rosweiss, and the girl eagerly agreed. Soon after, the aunt whispered Moon's name and asked her to follow her. The little one followed her aunt to a door that emitted a glowing light. On the other side, her mother began singing about how much she loved bathing and how amazing her body felt. She continued the song about scrubbing her butt and blowing bubbles, as the video showed a young Rosweiss in the bath. Leon sarcastically praised his wife's singing, comparing it to the beautiful song The Lark. The woman screamed that she needed to destroy the recording, but her sister stopped her, saying she would keep it as a family heirloom. Her sister's gift rested on the table, and Leon commented with relief that the box had finally survived. Leon simply laughs at the situation and says it's all a big joke. At that moment, Rosway stares at him and states that it's obvious he's very bored. Then she grabs him by the collar and calls him by name, indicating there will be serious consequences. Suddenly, she suggests they should pick up where they left off. At that moment, he realizes the provocation went too far. He quickly decides it's time to run, but his companion yells at him to stop immediately. When he tries to escape, he discovers the bedroom door is blocked. Rosweiss appears at the entrance and gives him 10 minutes to go to her room. She then warns that she'll show him the consequences of provoking her with those videos. The young man stands in front of the door, processing what just happened. He laments that his own tongue always gets him into trouble. He reflects that he didn't expect her to react that way. However, he concludes that it only confirms that the warrior's dark past is her greatest weak point. Out loud, he declares that even if he suffers physically, it's the price to pay for the noble cause of hunting dragons. With tears in his eyes, he accepts his fate, stating that his body may break if necessary. Thinking about Rosweiss, he concludes that everything is worth it as long as it makes the Silver Dragon Queen suffer. Meanwhile, she takes her own bath, thinking it's her duty to punish him. Already prepared, Leon warns her to brace herself for what's coming. 10 minutes later, as soon as he enters the room, a scream is heard from inside. Lying on the bed, he then asks Rosweiss to go easy on him. With a whip in hand, she introduces herself and orders him to call her mistress. Surprised by the scene, the young man teases her, calling her a true actress. Rosweiss simply calls him an idiot in response. Then she strikes him with the whip, making him scream. She then warns him that he said it wrong again, as he still doesn't seem to understand the situation he's in. With that, he reflects that the whip doesn't hurt that much, but it causes a strange sensation. Suddenly, he realizes that her goal is just to embarrass him with that role play. He understands the act. Rosweiss plays the teacher, and he is the rebellious student who made mistakes. To continue the game, she asks him if he already knows where he went wrong. Getting into character, the young man apologizes to his mistress and promises that from now on he will obey and won't make mistakes anymore. Rosweiss then asks if he's ready to turn in his assignment. Not understanding, he asks what assignment that is. She scolds him, asking how he can promise to study if he doesn't even know what the task is. Then he asks his mistress to tell him what the assignment is, and she says he's lucky that she's so understanding. Right after, she reveals that today's task is to make the mistress's dragon mark shine. She then warns that the punishment will be worse if he fails, and Leon promptly accepts the challenge. With that, he places his hand on her to begin the task. He then reflects that after so many nights together, he already knows every sensitive spot on her body. Soon, his touch begins to have the expected effect. Rosweiss then praises him, commenting that he learned very quickly. Then the two continue the task. The lesson between the two continues intensely in the bedroom. Soon Leon asks if the task is already finished and if it's good enough that way. Rosweiss replies that it was only a warm-up exercise before the real lesson. Then she reminds him that he hasn't even turned in his homework yet. Surprised, the young man asks if that also counts as part of the assignment. He then laments, knowing she wouldn't let him rest, once again defeated by the claws of the dragoness. Right after, he wonders if all of this is happening because of the dragon mark on his chest. He also notices that his mouth is getting drier. His body begins to grow restless with the situation, and he holds her tighter. With that, the game between them intensifies even more on the bed. Rosweiss then comments that Leon is being very naughty. In response, he asks her if that's not exactly what the teacher wanted. She then encourages him to continue, telling him to go faster. Their hands clasp tightly during the moment. After a while, Leon finally manages to catch his breath. After the long night, he reflects that the game between them is finally over. While getting dressed, he asks the teacher if he can leave now, as he has turned in the lesson. However, just as he's about to leave, Rosweiss grabs him by the clothes to stop him. She then informs him that he has only completed the task for one subject and that 6 more remain. Not understanding, the young man can only ask what she means by that. A cry of despair echoes through the starry night. Leon accuses the teacher of being addicted to work, but she merely orders him to prepare to spend the whole night doing homework. Rosweiss just watches the situation with a smile. The next morning, she walks around completely refreshed, while the young man walks with dark circles under his eyes and trembling steps. The twins soon find him, and Noah asks why he looks like he hasn't slept, while Moon points to the huge dark ring under his eye. He then explains that he stayed up late writing his homework. Moon asks if adults also have homework, and Rosweiss confirms that they do grown-up homework, just like children have theirs. The answer leaves the two girls silent for a moment. Suddenly, Moon exclaims that she discovered a super powerful rule. She then explains her theory. When mommy is doing well, daddy becomes weak, and when daddy is doing well, mommy is the one who becomes weak. Leon praises Moon, saying she's very clever for noticing a truth most people don't realize. He then promises that he'll be the first to defend her if anyone says she's only good at being cute. Hearing the conversation, Noah watches with her arms crossed. Soon after, she looks at the sky and announces that he has arrived. Next, she says goodbye to her mother and younger sister. While Rosweiss tells her to be careful, Moon asks her sister to come back soon so they can play. Liam also says goodbye, asking Noah to study properly and that they'll see each other next weekend. The girl just nods in response. Soon, she says she's off and is enveloped by teleportation energy. As Moon says goodbye to her sister and the dragon, the family watches her departure. Right after, the father asks the little one what they'll do now that her sister has gone to school. Moon reflects that her daddy is always tired and mommy seems really worried about it. She then declares that since her sister is gone, she will make sure daddy trains and gets stronger. With that, she pulls his arm and invites him to run in the training field, and he accepts the suggestion. Rosweiss watches the scene and reflects that it's interesting and that she'll keep an eye out to see what happens next. While Leon leads the exercise count, Lil Moon asks why they need to do that. Right after, he explains the importance of warming up before exercising, and the little girl confirms that she understands. Suddenly, Rosweiss approaches and says she wants to join them. Seeing her mother, Moon celebrates that she's going to run with them too. Soon, Rosweiss tells her daughter that she won't go easy on her, and Moon replies that she won't go easy on her mom either. Then Leon warns her to be careful not to twist her ankle, since she spends all day sitting in the office. The warrior teases him by reminding him of the last competition she won, but he snaps back that he didn't even use all his strength. That makes the little one excited, and she yells for her mom and dad to fight again. Quickly, the man covers his daughter's mouth, saying that children shouldn't talk about fights. Even so, Moon asks why her dad can't beat her mom, and he wonders how she already learned to attack for real. To clear things up, he explains that he doesn't want to hurt his wife, which is why he lets her win. From a distance, Rosweiss calls him stubborn and proposes a new contest to see who can run the longest. With determination, Leon accepts the challenge and says that the endurance match is far from decided. As the three prepare for the race, Moon declares that she won't lose either. With that, the maid raises her arm to start the race and gives the signal. The maid then shouts, "Go," and the race between the three begins. While they run, Liam asks his companion if her tail gets in the way. She promptly replies that the tail actually helps maintain balance, something he clearly lacks. Even while ahead, Rosweiss provokes him, asking him to show his own, but he replies that he doesn't need any tail to win. After 2 laps, Little Moon collapses to the ground, exhausted, saying she can't run anymore. The maid approaches to comfort her, saying that Princess Moon was amazing just for participating. With that, the maid invites her to cheer together from the sidelines for the queen and the prince. While running, Leon realizes he doesn't have much of an advantage since the Silver Dragon people are naturally fast. Even so, he doubles down on his decision. There's no turning back now that he stood at the starting line. With his honor as a dragon hunter on the line, he tells himself he can't lose to her here. In a final effort, he lets out a scream and recalls one of the hunter's codes: born to fight and rest only in death. 20 minutes later, Leon is seen lying on the ground, completely out of breath. Rosweiss approaches and asks if he's going to accept defeat, but Leon from the ground says he does not. Smiling, the woman challenges him, asking if he wants to keep running since he refuses to lose. With resolve, Leon asks for 2 days to train, guaranteeing that he'll definitely beat her. Teasing him, she says not even 2 years would be enough for him, but still lying on the ground, he insists he can do it. Then Rosweiss steps closer and asks if, now that he's been defeated, he's going to show what he's really capable of. With a serious expression, the hunter dodges the question, saying he loves taking baths because they make him feel good. Right after, he warns her that holding grudges will come back to bite her, but says that she's the one holding grudges like that. Then Rosweiss calls Little Mew and declares that since her dad is feeling weak, they'll go exercise together now. The little girl says her dad really is kind of weak and that's why he needs to work out more. Frozen, Leon is speechless upon hearing the comment from his own daughter. Holding Mew's hand, Rosweiss walks away, and from a distance, Leon advises her not to underestimate a father who looks weak, because things can change over time. Later, a special meal is served at the table to help the family recover their energy. Affectionately, Little Moon asks her father to open his mouth so she can feed him. He opens his mouth to receive the food offered by his daughter. Right after eating, the man collapses onto the table, and Rosweiss advises him not to push his rusty body so hard next time. Still lying down, he grumbles that he only lost because of the task from the previous night. Otherwise, he definitely would have beaten her. Rosweiss then teases him, asking if he wants to continue the task that night as well. Faced with the proposition, he abruptly gets up from the table. Quickly, the warrior picks Moon up in his arms and announces that he'll stay with her tonight to tell a new story. When the little girl asks if they had agreed on that, he responds that the agreement starts now. Rosweiss agrees on the condition that they don't stay up late and get to bed early. With that, the little one happily agrees with her mother while being held in his arms. Rosweiss then leaves and walks alone down a long hallway. Suddenly, she stops and orders the person hiding to come out. Her subordinate emerges from the shadows and greets her as Your Majesty. Without mincing words, the woman directly asks if there's any news for her. The informer reports that she found the secret residence where Tage Lawrence used to live, but they moved out over a year ago and are no longer in the Empire. She adds that they donated all of their belongings, and Rosweiss immediately asks what was the one exception. Promptly, the subordinate replies that the only thing not donated was a donkey. She then explains that the neighbors said the couple was very fond of the animal and made sure to take it with them. With that, Rosweiss orders her to continue tracking Tay's whereabouts, and the woman leaves to carry out the order. As soon as the informant disappears, the queen remains silent for a moment. Soon, she begins to question herself about Leon's master and why he would have left the Empire. Elsewhere, a distant voice reacts with surprise to unexpected news. The information leaves the couple shocked, and the man asks if he heard correctly about a family sports day. Then Moon confirms that the Academy is organizing the event next week. Rosweiss comments that back in her day, parents didn't have to participate, and the daughter explains that it's a new initiative. Curious, the little one asks her mother what place she came in when she competed in the games. Proudly, the woman replies that she came in first place, which impresses the girls. Soon, the girl asks about their father, and he reveals that he didn't place at all, which makes her ask why. With a smile, the warrior explains that he had such an advantage that the Academy thought he was cheating and didn't publish his results. Hearing that story, Noel asks if that means her father is a cheater. Leon denies it and explains that the Academy gave him a medal in secret, but he melted it down to make a bracelet for his grandmother. Hearing that, Rosweiss questions how someone who values honor so much could melt his medal, and the man replies that he prefers not to have an honor he can't show off with pride. Then she asks if he's really going to participate in the sports day. Noah then explains that the event is more for fun and doesn't affect grades. With determination, the girl reveals that even so, she really wants to win first place. Realizing this, Leon understands that his daughter inherited his competitive spirit and has a strong obsession with being the best. With that, he and Rosweiss exchange a look of understanding. Soon, the two announce that they will participate in the event together with her. Excited, Moon says she wants to join too, but Noah explains that registration is limited to only 3 people. To cheer her up, the father says the little one can be in charge of cheering and that her support will be essential for victory. Right away, the little girl agrees and promises to cheer with all of her strength for the family. With the whole family gathered, he declares that if everyone gives it their all, winning the sports day will be a piece of cake. To prepare, Leon begins an intense and early training routine for the family sports day, which will take place in a week. While exercising, he watches Rosweiss stretching in the distance. The warrior reflects that dragon women like her are true models. Anything they wear looks good on them. Soon after, the woman approaches and suggests a warm-up run, since the kids aren't awake yet, and he promptly agrees. As they run, Leon asks about the events and the competition, and Rosweiss lists the triathlon, racing, and jumping events she took part in. In response, he says it doesn't sound too different from his own sports days, but she warns him not to underestimate competitions among dragons. Leon replies that dragon hunters aren't as easy as she thinks either. With a teasing smile, Rosweiss recalls how just a few days ago, someone collapsed after only a few laps. The remark visibly annoys him. He yells that it was her fault for making him stay up all night with that task. Upon hearing the complaint, Rosweiss stops and asks if he'd like a bit of motivation. She then proposes that if they manage to win first place at the sports day, he'll earn a week off. Excited, Leon asks if she's serious, and she confirms the deal. With newfound determination, the man declares that this tournament will belong to their family. He shouts, "Let's go," and takes off training, leaving his partner behind. Watching this scene, Rosweiss concludes that her motivation technique really works. At the end of the warm-up, she approaches and asks if his muscles and joints feel active yet. Leon jumps up full of energy, saying it feels like he just took a stimulant. Then Rosweiss picks up a rope and comments that since it's a family event, the competitions will probably be different. Because of that, she says they also need to train their coordination as a team, not just their physical condition. Leon steps back and asks what the rope is for, jokingly asking if she wants to practice tying him up again after the teacher-student game. Rosweiss scolds him and asks if he's never heard of a 3-legged race. Embarrassed, Leon admits he saw one once at the Dragon Hunters Academy. She then declares that their basic coordination test is about to begin, and he agrees, though reluctantly. As soon as their legs are tied together, Leon notices how uncomfortably close they are. To break the awkwardness, he suggests they start training right away. He then rushes her, asking why she's just standing there and telling her to get going. However, Rosweiss retorts that he didn't say where they were supposed to go, and the hunter points toward the grassy field, explaining that it'll hurt less if they fall. At the very beginning, they stumble, with Rosweiss yelling at him not to push her, and him insisting that she's the one doing the pushing. Trying to assert himself, Leon warns her not to mess up his rhythm, but Rosweiss thanks him for the morning joke. To coordinate their steps, he starts a countdown for the takeoff. As he finishes, the woman yells, "Run," and takes off at full speed. The sudden burst catches him completely off guard. Liam is dragged forward, screaming in desperation. Falling to the ground, he starts untying the rope while Rosweiss asks if he even knows what cooperation means. She teases him for not being able to keep up, but he snaps back that he won't stoop to her level. To fix the problem, Leon proposes a counting system for each leg, and she agrees. Suddenly, he touches her side. surprising her. As she reacts, he explains that this way they'll move more in sync. Flustered, Rossweiss agrees to continue the training. With the new tactic, their synchronization begins to improve as they move to the rhythm of his count. Later, the woman has him do push-ups with her on his back, and he complains that she really knows how to enjoy the show. The training continues to the point where Leon's body is so exhausted he can barely hold himself up. To motivate him, Rossweiss threatens to give him a kiss if he can endure it, but he screams that he'll never allow that. And so, with that extra motivation, the 500 push-ups of the day are finally completed. Time flew by, and as scheduled, St. Hiss Academy's family sports competition finally began. Standing on a podium, Vice Principal Wilson officially announced the start of the institution's first ever family sports event. From the stands, Little Moon shouted words of encouragement to her father, mother, and sister. Soon, the commentator Cheo Lu introduced herself and announced that she would be narrating the entire progression of the competition. With that, she stated that the first round would be the relay race, with each family sending 3 participants. She then explained that the race would be a total of 3,000 meters, and the team that completed the course in the shortest time would win. One of the organizers then instructed the groups to collect their numbers and proceed to their respective starting points. Upon receiving their numbers, Noah decided that her mother would run the first leg, and she would take the second, with Leon agreeing without hesitation. The young girl then turned to her father and assigned him to run the third and final stage of the race. Confidently, he replied with a "of course," confirming the trio's strategy. Rossweiss then informed them that the race was about to begin at her starting position and that everyone should get into place. With everything set, the two shared one last glance before the race began. Already on the track, Rossweiss reassured her daughter not to be nervous, as she would be the first to pass her the baton. Meanwhile, the father and daughter waited in their respective positions for their turn to run. Soon, one of the organizers called the second leg runners to gather in the waiting area. Before parting ways, Leon told his daughter he'd be waiting for her in the third stage and asked her to take care. He then approached the little one and asked if she would cheer for Daddy during the race. With a nod, Hello Girl agreed and said that she would. The two bumped fists in a gesture of mutual trust. Shortly after, the commentator announced that the relay race was about to start and asked the first leg athletes to get into position. From the stands, Moon shouted with pom-poms in hand, cheering her mother on. On the track, the organizer gave the command for everyone to take their places and get ready. As soon as the signal sounded, Rossweiss burst forward with the baton in hand. The announcer commented that runner number 7 from the Silver Dragon clan had taken the lead, leaving the competitors behind. She then pointed out that runner number 10, Misty from the Electric Dragon clan, was quickly closing the gap. Next to Leon, one of the other fathers remarked that it's not just the Silver Dragons who are fast. This made the hunter reflect that the Electric Dragon clan are masters of evasion and using fake-out attacks in battle. The commentator reported that number 7 had overtaken number 10 again and was now 2 body lengths ahead. She asked President Duncan who he thought would win the relay, but he replied that nothing is decided until the very end. The other father bragged to Leon that his wife was so far ahead that the result was obvious, and Leon calmly agreed that his wife was amazing. With a smile, the rival father confirmed that there was no doubt his partner was indeed impressive. However, Leon interrupted with a "but," which made the other man realize something was off. Leon then finished the sentence, stating that his wife was even more incredible. With that, Rossweiss unleashed a new burst of speed on the track, intensifying her pace. Surprised, the rival runner wondered where she was still getting that explosive strength from. As she ran, Rossweiss reflected on the intense wind resistance from having maintained the lead the entire time. Soon, her rival realized she could no longer keep up with the pace Rossweiss was setting. The commentator narrated that number 7 was using the body of her opponent to reduce wind drag and accelerate during the final stretch. With this maneuver, the narrator confirmed that she was the first to hand off the baton to the next runner. Next, the commentator reported that number 10 had also completed the handoff and questioned whether the new runner would be able to catch up with Noah. Watching her daughter take off, Rossweiss reacted with a slight jolt of concern. From a distance, her husband gave her a thumbs up to reassure her. Clenching her fist, she now placed her full trust in the next runners. Back on the track, the announcer reports that the second leg runners are already taking off, while one of the competitors complains about the speed of the leaders. Next, the commentator announces that at this moment, the race is being led by competitor Noel and runner Dean. As he passes her, Dean taunts her, saying, "Goodbye, little legs." With a determined look, she thinks to herself that she can't let him get too far ahead. From the stands, Moon shouts words of support, saying she believes in her sister. The commentator wonders whether Dean's lead will be decisive, but the president insists that nothing is decided until the very end. Soon after, the announcer informs that both runners have just exited the final turn and are approaching the home stretch. The commentator highlights that the 2 dragons are running side by side, with neither giving the other any room. With that, the announcer questions who will manage to pass the baton first for the final leg of the race. Then the commentator confirms that Dean hands off the baton with a slight lead, and Noah also completes the exchange successfully. As soon as she finishes her leg, she apologizes to her mother for wasting the advantage that had been built. Rossweiss reassures her, saying she did very well, and that her opponent had a physical advantage for being older. She then invites her daughter to go with her to the finish line to cheer for Daddy. Back in the stands, Moon yells that her daddy needs strength and that he's the best. On the track, the rival runner warns Leon to pay attention because he's about to gain a 5-second lead. As he bursts forward, the opponent laughs loudly, mercilessly taunting him. Leon internally thinks that the rival shouldn't underestimate his obsession with vacation time. With the race heating up, the commentator narrates that Gordon and the representative of the Silver Dragon clan continue to accelerate, while the president repeats that nothing is decided yet. Watching closely, Noah whispers a word of encouragement for her father. Suddenly, Leon hears his daughter's cheer, catching him by surprise. Motivated, he tells himself he can't lose now that Noah just called him Daddy. With renewed energy, he speeds up and pulls alongside the rival runner. The opposing father realizes that if this continues, he'll be overtaken. Determined, he warns that in that case, he'll make Leon taste defeat. Suddenly, the rival tries to trip him and Leon is caught off guard by the move. Dodging it, he warns that if dirty tricks are on the table, the consequences are not his responsibility. With that, the rival runner stumbles on the very obstacles he tried to use. The commentator announces that competitor Gordon has fallen right at the final stretch of the race. With the path clear, she declares that Leon crosses the finish line in first place. Right after, the announcer congratulates the Manhwa family for winning the relay race. After the victory, the father approaches Noah and asks what she had just said. With a shy look, the little girl calls him Daddy. Leon asks her to say it again, but Noah says she'll only repeat it if they win first place in the games. Rossweiss comes over and asks if he's hurt, and the warrior assures her he's fine. Suddenly, the rival father approaches the judges and accuses Leon of cheating by kicking dirt at him at the end of the race. In response, Leon fires back, asking how the attacker now wants to play the victim. He then points to the opponent's clothes and says the attempt to strike him is visible by the shock marks on his shoulder. Feigning innocence, Leon tells the judges that he was running full speed and might have kicked up some dust by accident, but it wasn't his fault. One of the organizers asks the runner to cooperate with an inspection, but his wife stops him from approaching. As the couple tries to understand why the inspection is being interrupted, someone approaches and asks what's going on. The rival father immediately recognizes the arrival of the clan chief, revealed to be Thor, leader of the Electric Dragons and president of the arbitration committee. The next day in Sky City, Leon laments his lost vacation. He then writes the word vacation on a foggy window. Lying on a table, he regrets winning the championship. Outside, a little girl points him out to her mother, who tells her not to look. Leon then dramatically says goodbye to his vacation. Rossweiss asks what he thinks of an outfit, and he replies that it's fine without even looking. She then questions him for not turning his head to give his opinion. He turns around, gives a thumbs up, and assures her she looks good in anything. But the woman complains that the outfit doesn't fit well. She approaches a rack with other clothes. Then she picks up a black swimsuit and asks about that one. Rossweiss then shows off the new suit and asks what he thought. With that, Leon is left completely speechless and looks away stunned. He pulls himself together and says he doesn't think it's a good idea for her to wear that. Rossweiss then comments that she thought he liked the outfit. A woman then appears and reveals she has already prepared swimsuits for the girls. Rossweiss questions if he's unhappy with the situation, but Leon denies it. Then she reminds him that the date for the Hot Springs trip can't be changed. She adds that his daughters are looking forward to it, and their happiness will make him happy too. With that, Leon forces a laugh and says he's very happy about the trip. To cheer him up, Rossweiss proposes not to touch him for the next 7 days, but Leon doubts the promise, saying she's always around anyway. She then swears on her reputation as the Silver Dragon Queen that she'll keep her promise. He nervously accepts the deal. Then she whispers that the bet will be harder than he thinks. Leon retorts that he can control himself and wouldn't touch her without a reason. She warns him that if his dragon pattern appears, he's lost, but he accepts the challenge. The next day, they arrive at Floating Cloud Valley. In the hotel lobby, a receptionist identifies them as the Academy's model champion family. Leon just confirms the information for the woman. The receptionist informs them that the Academy will cover all expenses, and Moon comments that the fish in the aquarium look delicious, but Noah corrects her. She then hands the room key card to Leon, who thanks her. He questions why there are only 2 rooms, and the woman asks if he's dissatisfied with the arrangements. The receptionist offers a special honeymoon suite, but Leon immediately refuses. He calls Noah and Moon to go, while the woman wishes them all a happy holiday. Then the family walks down the hotel corridor. Leon realizes he'll have to share a room with Rossweiss again and needs to find a way to avoid it. He then asks his daughters if they want to share a room with him, but they say they want to sleep together. Moon explains that Aunt Isa said everyone should have their own space so they don't bother others. He then laments that his daughter foiled his plan. Noah states she can take good care of Moon, suggesting they should enjoy their time together. Rossweiss hands the room key card to Noah and tells them to call if they need anything. Moon then calls her sister, excited to open their room door. Leon laments that the kids have grown up and don't need him anymore. Rossweiss hurries him along while he realizes that the real test is just beginning. In the room, Rossweiss admires the view from the window. Leon enters carrying the suitcase, and she comments that the scenery here is really nice. He then asks her if she's ever been to this place before. but she denies it, explaining that she's been too busy with clan matters to go out with the children. She continues, saying that's why she brought a camera to take some souvenir photos. Leon startles when he hears the word camera, wondering if it's the same one he used before. Opening the suitcase, he finds the camera, and she confirms it's the prize she won at the school's sports event. He then despairs, remembering that the camera contains embarrassing photos he took of her during the sports event. Rosweiss then approaches from behind and asks for the camera. He protects the object and offers to take the pictures, claiming to be a super professional. She questions him about when he became a photographer, and he replies that he's been photographing his master's donkey since he was a kid. She then agrees and invites him for a walk before the barbecue and fireworks at night, and he accepts. The family strolls through the garden, and Leon announces he'll be the photographer for the day, much to the girls' delight. Next, the two little girls pose together for a photo in front of a large statue. Noah approaches a small deer and offers it a carrot to eat. The children comment on Rosweiss's beauty as she poses surrounded by deer. Then Moen points to a carousel and calls for her mother to go play. The woman then tries her luck at a claw machine to get a prize. Leon takes the opportunity to snap a picture, praising her expression. He celebrates having managed to capture a picture of Rosweiss smiling. Then he looks at the photo he just took on the camera's display. She admits the photo turned out well, and Leon brags that he shouldn't be underestimated. Later, in line to buy drinks, she questions him for following her. She then turns around holding a small teddy bear. Leon stares at her, not understanding the situation. Rosweiss offers the bear to him, asking if he didn't give her one in Sky City. He smiles and explains that the one he gave her was the Bear King, while this one is just a cub. The woman then gets annoyed by his comment. She asks if he doesn't want the gift, but Leon quickly says that's not what he said. Meanwhile, sitting on a bench, Moen complains about how long her parents are taking to bring her drink. Noah then confesses that actually she's sometimes jealous of Moen. Her sister, surprised, asks why she would be jealous. The little girl explains it's because she can say anything to their parents without hesitation. Moen says she can do that too, but Noah denies it, saying she can't. She justifies this by saying she's a big girl now and can't just say whatever she wants. A narration explains that Noah wasn't always like this, having been born just 20 minutes before her sister. The two grew up together under their mother's care, exploring the world and learning. To them, their mother was always the most powerful and omnipotent being that existed. But one day, Noah saw her mother next to her unconscious father and realized her fragile side. The little girl then wondered if she could share her mother's responsibilities when she grew up. Since then, the desire to take care of the family grew in her heart, and she began to act like an adult. Noah forced herself to mature quickly, becoming independent and getting good grades. This was all done to prevent her mother from being as sad as she was that day. Back in the present, Moen says she doesn't understand complicated things, but she's also very jealous of her sister. Noah is surprised and asks why she would be jealous. Noah asks how her sister could possibly envy her, but Moen stands up and says she's wrong. She explains that her sister is smart, always looking after her like a grown-up and winning lots of awards. She declares that's why she wants to be just like her sister in the future, which surprises Noah. Noah replies that her sister doesn't know what she'll be like in the future. Moen then asks what she wants to be in the future. She answers she must be what's expected of her, as Leon approaches, teasing that Moen is just like her sister. He then hands the drinks to his daughters, who thank their father. Later that night, a fireworks display lights up the sky. The two sisters watch the light show intently. Sitting on a bench, they agree the trip was worth it after seeing their daughters' reactions. Leon holds the teddy bear and says that as a father, he wants to capture all their moments. He then notices something. Suddenly, Rosweiss appears with the camera and asks him when he took it to look at the photos. He remembers trying to get the photos developed earlier, but the resort's studio didn't offer the service. Rosweiss asks when the photo with the deer was taken, and he realizes his secret photos are next on the camera roll. Desperate, Leon squeezes the teddy bear and gets an idea to get out of the situation. He offers Rosweiss a piece of candy he bought during the day, and she gets ready to take it. He then opens the candy wrapper. Next, he moves closer and offers her the candy. The woman is startled by his sudden closeness. She questions him for getting so close, and he defends himself, saying she seemed to want the candy. Rosweiss then realizes he's been taking pictures all day, but none of himself. She holds the camera and suggests they take a picture together. Leon agrees, but plays it off, saying it's to prevent their daughters from asking why they don't have a photo together. He tells her to get closer to fit in the frame and teases her for making a peace sign. Then, the two of them take a selfie, making the same gesture. Later, a sparkler is lit. Rosweiss and Noah have fun together, playing with the lights. Sitting down, Leon watches them and remarks how rare it is to see them having so much fun. He asks Moen, who is dozing in his lap, why she isn't playing, but the little girl says she's tired. Moen explains she wanted to give her mom and sister more time together, since they rarely get to play. Leon then says his daughter has really grown up, but the little girl replies that she hasn't grown up and just wants to see her family happy. He gets emotional, thinking that even with their different personalities, both girls love their family. He then offers to carry her to their room, but realizes she's already asleep. The little girl is sleeping soundly in his lap. Rosweiss approaches with Noah and whispers, asking if she fell asleep. He stands up with Moen in his arms and says it's time to go back. The two watch the scene in silence. Then, Rosweiss turns to Noah and offers to carry her too. The girl looks at her mother, a little surprised by the offer. A moment later, she accepts the invitation with a smile. And so, the family heads back, but the first day of their trip didn't end on a happy note. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a hot spring. Back in the room, the girls say goodnight to their parents and close the door. Leon then flops onto the bed, relieved to finally be able to rest. But Rosweiss asks if he's going to sleep in the same bed as her, and he immediately denies it. He makes up an excuse that he's going to relax in the hot springs for a bit and tells her to go to sleep first. The hot spring bubbles peacefully under the starry sky. Leon relaxes in the water, remarking on what a rewarding day it was. He then starts thinking of an excuse to sleep somewhere else later. Suddenly, a figure approaches from behind him. He's startled to see Rosweiss and asks why she's there, but she questions why he's so suspicious. She explains that the fireworks finale is about to start and asks for the camera to take some pictures. He nervously remembers that the camera is nearby. Rosweiss spots the object on a chair and notices he brought it with him. She walks over to get the camera while he watches in a panic. He then realizes he can't let her get her hands on it, no matter what. Leon moves abruptly in the water and shouts for her to wait. To stop her from grabbing the camera, Leon invites her to join him in the hot spring. Surprised, she asks what he just said. He then repeats the invitation for her to get in the water. Rosweiss stares at him for a moment in silence. Then she informs him that she brought a swimsuit and tells him to behave himself. But Leon assures her that a good dragon hunter can keep his composure. She tells him to remember what he said and heads to the changing room. Alone, he tries to calm himself down, telling himself that nothing bad can happen. Leon fills with determination, ready to protect the photos at all costs. While waiting, he decides to recite the dragon hunter's honors to distract himself. Soon after, he hears a sound and realizes she's coming back. A woman wearing a purple dress appears at the door. The outfit completely covers her body. Rosweiss then emerges at the entrance, but she isn't wearing the swimsuit she mentioned. Leon turns to her, completely surprised by what he sees. Leon scoffs at her outfit, assuring her he won't have any reaction. She then glares at him and calls him conceited. Rosweiss gets into the water and explains the outfit was a gift from her sister, which makes Leon laugh. An awkward silence then settles between the two in the hot spring. He turns away, relieved that her swimsuit is quite conservative. But the woman provokes him, asking if he's scared. Leon then turns back and states there's nothing to be afraid of. Suddenly, he points at her in shock and yells about her swimsuit. It turns out the outer garment was just a cover-up, and underneath she was wearing a swimsuit. She laments that she hadn't imagined her sister's gift would come with a surprise. But right after, the woman looks at him with a smirk. Then she moves closer to him and asks what he thinks. Leon questions why she didn't just change before coming back. Rosweiss teases him, asking if the great dragon hunter is uncomfortable. He realizes he's being played and needs to find a way to break the stalemate. Leon recognizes she's following her usual patterns. Her routine starts with the first step, provocation. Next, the second step is to flirt with him. Finally, the third step is to shift all the responsibility to him. So Leon decides he needs to use this situation to his advantage. He claims not to be afraid and challenges her, asking how she'd react if he revealed his dragon pattern first. Rosweiss stares at him. She guarantees she can perfectly control her impulses and never loses control. Leon dares her to accept the bet to prove her confidence. Rosweiss accepts without hesitation, but he asks what will happen if she loses. Then she promises that if he wins, she'll give him 7 more days off. He accepts the deal, certain that Rosweiss has taken the bait. Suddenly, Leon points to the fireworks and suggests they watch them first. Rosweiss asks if one of the fireworks looks like her dragon pattern, but he says no. To avoid any visual stimulation, he decides not to look at her. Suddenly, he wonders why she started singing out of nowhere. Rosweiss explains that the dragon pattern is like little stars. She asks what he thought of the song, but Leon replies it's no better than his bath song. Then, Rosweiss shouts that her dragon pattern is glowing. Leon is shocked, not understanding how that's possible. But she reveals it was a lie and that the pattern didn't actually light up. He realizes Rosweiss has already started trying to enchant him. With that, he decides he can't be left behind, and his tail emerges from the water. Leon lifts his tail out of the water, and she stares at him, confused. Rosweiss asks what he's doing. He explains that if he can't hold her hand to watch the show, he can hold her with his tail. She demands that he let her go immediately. Rosweiss screams for him to let go again, but Leon refuses to obey. She grabs him and warns that the tail is his most vulnerable point and that she will defeat him. In that same instant, she shudders at his touch. Rosweiss realizes he's trying to trick her into taking the initiative. So she asks what's wrong with holding hands to watch the fireworks and holds out her hand to him. Leon hesitates, wondering why his heart is beating so fast. He considers that small, ambiguous move to be a game changer. Their hands join. Leon feels it's impossible to defend against that move. Roswis whispers for him not to resist so they can end the challenge, but he pulls his hand away and declares he won't be enchanted by her. Leon agrees that enduring the situation isn't pleasant. He taunts her, saying she's also doing her best to hold back. Suddenly, a pattern on his back begins to glow. Then the two of them kiss under the fireworks. The next day, Noah knocks on the door and shouts for her parents to wake up. Moon approaches and asks her sister what's going on. Noah says it's supposed to be their mom's turn to get weak, and Moon wonders where their dad went. Then, Moon asks if they need to offer a tribute for him to show up, but her sister accuses her of just wanting steak. Noah decides to go eat first and says she can take her sister if their parents don't show up. Meanwhile, Leon and Rosweiss are sleeping in the same bed. He slowly opens his eyes. Leon sits up in bed. He remembers that last night they both failed the dragon pattern challenge. With that, he recalls kissing Rosweiss during the moment of confusion. Leon then realizes that was their first real kiss. He touches his own lips. Leon gets out of bed. He wonders why he started such an over-the-top challenge. At the same time, Rosweiss pretends to be asleep. Rosweiss wonders why he touched his lips, remembering the night before. She recalls finally kissing the dragon hunter and that it was her first kiss. Then she wraps herself in the blanket and denies that she wanted to kiss him. Rosweiss blames the dragon mark for everything that happened. Later, everyone is at a large water park. Moon appears in the pool holding a water blaster. She splashes water on Noah. Then Moen shows off her splash attack to her sister. Noah gets annoyed as her sister keeps splashing her. Rosweiss asks Leon why he won't go play with them. Rosweiss starts to talk about the previous night but is interrupted by a voice. A couple approaches and asks if they are the children's parents. Yuna introduces herself along with her husband, Zay, and asks if they can talk for a bit. Then, Rosweiss introduces herself and introduces Leon as her husband. Yuna explains that they are newlyweds and came here to avoid a dragon dispute. Rosweiss reflects that she needs to keep an eye on Constantine's movements. Yuna comments that they seem to have a good relationship, and Rosweiss replies that many dragons have said the same thing. Leon notes that even with children, they only kissed for the first time the night before. Yuna says she envies their family for having two lovely children. She reveals she's thinking about having children and asks for their advice. Rosweiss replies that she just agreed with him without thinking much about it. Leon notes that the female dragon is very good at making up stories. He advises that this kind of thing happens naturally and that there's no reason to be afraid. Zay asks how Leon resolves their fights, and Yuna admits she sometimes likes to have the last word. Leon is at a loss for how to answer the question. He teases her, saying that despite her appearance, she likes to act cute. Then, Rosweiss tickles him, saying he's embarrassing her. Zay observes their interaction. Leon explains that every woman, no matter how strong, will still show her fragile side. He finishes by saying that in those moments, a man must stand up and protect his wife. He concludes that this is what it means to be a good and responsible man. With the end of the 7-day trip, life returns to normal at the Silver Dragon Castle. Rosweiss asks a servant if she found the tigers, and the woman confirms. She reports that she found a hideout on the outskirts of the Empire, a secret location protected by barriers. Rosweiss questions why they would hide there and how they managed to reach such a high place. Her servant warns her that the human named Tiger is extremely powerful and could defeat her easily. Rosweiss reflects that even with Shirley's weak combat ability, she is one of her confidants. With such a high assessment, she concludes that Leon's master is not a simple person. Shirley then reveals she was discovered, but they let her go to deliver a message. She informs him that he wishes to see Rosweiss. Rosweiss assesses the situation. She decides that, in that case, they need to meet and leaves, flying with her dragons. A few hours later, they arrive at a waterfall. Shirley points to the waterfall and says the couple awaits her inside, but she must go alone. Rosweiss instructs her on what to do if she doesn't return in an hour. Next, she passes through the waterfall, protected by a barrier, while someone prepares tea. Rosweiss stares at him. She recognizes him as Leon's master. He invites her to sit, and she comments that Leon was the only dragon hunter she found difficult to face. She notes the man before her has the same pressure as Leon, or perhaps even greater. Rosweiss reveals she waited 2 years for an opportunity to meet him. She asks directly about Leon's condition. The master replies that he is still alive. She recalls he was her prisoner, and the man says he's relieved his stubborn pupil is alive. He states that Leon paid the price for someone to find his whereabouts. Then the master asks her to stop Leon from escaping to the Empire next year. Rosweiss asks for the reason, questioning why he doesn't want to rescue his disciple. He explains that 2 years ago, the return of the defeated dragon hunters caused great fury in the Empire. With that, the Empire blamed a traitor within the dragon hunter army for the war's failure. Rosweiss understands that with his whereabouts unknown, Leon became the perfect culprit. The master confirms, saying it's better for him to stay with her and survive, as his life will be in great danger if he returns to the Empire now. Rosweiss agrees to keep him under her watch, but sets one condition. She demands to know all information about Leon, especially his dark childhood history. His master finds the request rather peculiar. Then he hands her a chest, explaining it contains all the love letters Leon received. He says the letters were for Leon's future wife, so the final decision on what to do with them is hers. Rosweiss smiles, stating that Leon's day has finally come. The master observes her, questioning her sudden interest in the captive. She then finds a drawing among the letters. He explains that Leon, at 6 years old, liked tall girls with silver hair and a cold appearance. He himself reacts to the coincidence of his description. Her features exactly match the girl Leon described. Rossweiss asks for more information, but the master says he can't betray his apprentice any further. Then she shows him a recent photo of his beloved disciple. He asks her to wait and says he will show her Leon's first love. Rossweiss wonders what Leon's first love could be. Leon's master arrives with a donkey and apologizes for the delay, explaining the animal woke up irritated. Rossweiss then asks, shocked, if Leon's first love is a donkey. He laughs and confirms it is. He then explains that Leon could never tame the animal, which followed him all day, and he considered it his childhood love. Leon's master reveals the young man has marks on his nose from a kick he took from the donkey. Rossweiss sighs, relieved by the story. She realizes she felt relieved. Then she stares at the animal and concludes there's no reason to be nervous. She turns, stating she will leave the photos and go, but she asks the master for proof that Leon is still alive. Rossweiss tosses a card to him and says Leon will understand the message. She says goodbye, declaring this might be their first and last meeting, and she states that for Leon, she doesn't just want 1 year of his life. Then she disappears in a flash of energy. Leon's master watches the spot, questioning the meaning of her words. Leon's master notices the card left a piece of metal behind. He is startled by the object. Then a woman approaches as he laments Leon's name. Charlotte Poseidon, his wife, appears and asks if the young man is okay. He hands her the photos, saying Leon's life is better than one can describe. Charlotte looks at the family picture and comments that the boy is living better than his master. Afterward, she asks him if he has made a decision. Tiger grabs his weapon and states it's time to restore his apprentice's reputation, and he declares this will be a gift for his granddaughters. At the Silver Dragon Castle, the night deepens. Leon thinks Rossweiss is acting strange as she disappeared for 2 days without warning. He questions a servant about Her Majesty's whereabouts, who replies she left on business. Back in the present, he hears that she would prepare dinner personally as soon as she arrived. Rossweiss appears with the meal, but he feels something is wrong. She invites him to eat with her. Moen gets excited seeing the steak her mother made looks delicious, but Leon is stunned, asking why his plate is full of carrots. Rossweiss then informs him it's a vegetable salad. He yells that there are only carrots, and she corrects him, calling it a carrot salad. Moen asks if her daddy doesn't like carrots, leaving him speechless. Rossweiss reminds him that he always tells Moen not to be a picky eater, so Leon states he will eat it all. He suspiciously, wondering if she discovered his weakness. Suddenly, Rossweiss remembers something, and she informs him she needs to talk to him in his room tonight, leaving him shocked. Later, the bedroom door opens. Rossweiss enters the room. Leon, sitting on the bed, pretends to read a book as she approaches. She stands beside the bed and asks if he's nervous, but he denies it. Then the woman sits in a nearby chair and asks for his attention. She insists that he come closer. Leon, already in his pajamas, approaches her and asks if she missed him after not seeing him for 2 days. Rossweiss confirms and asks him to turn off the lights. Then the bedside lamp is turned off. They lie side by side on the bed, but half an hour later, nothing happens. He hides under the blanket, wondering what's going on. Then he whispers, asking if she's really just sleeping. With one eye half open, she asks what else he was expecting. He turns away and replies that he just wants to sleep. Leon then decides to save his energy, planning to turn the tables when she least expects it. The clock on the nightstand marks the passing of time. Suddenly, Rossweiss opens her eyes. She sits up in bed and picks up the clock, and she remembers the master's advice that at 2:30 in the morning, Leon might reveal his thoughts in his sleep. Rossweiss moves closer to him and decides to run a simple test first, so she asks for the name of his youngest daughter. Leon answers Moen in his sleep, and she confirms the plan is working. She asks him what kind of girl he likes, and he replies that he prefers tall girls with silver hair. Next, she asks why he rejected girls who look like that in school, and he says he didn't like her. Rossweiss gets annoyed as he hesitated for 5 seconds before rejecting her. She insists on knowing what else he likes, and Leon replies that he prefers mature women with an elegant style. Rossweiss asks if he'd like to see his classmates in that kind of outfit, but he denies it. She then presses him to know who he would like to see in that outfit. With a smile, he whispers the name Rossweiss. She is completely stunned by the answer, and she reacts embarrassed by the unexpected confession. Rossweiss wakes him up and demands to know why he wants to see her in a bunny girl outfit. He starts to explain why, but falls fast asleep. She realizes he fell back asleep at the crucial moment. Rossweiss warns him that next time she'll make him embarrass himself while he sleepwalks. The next afternoon, Moen is playing outside the Silver Dragon Castle. Leon then asks Rossweiss when she left the previous night, and she replies that it was after he fell asleep. She teases him, asking if he's disappointed about it. But he replies that the castle is hers and she can sleep wherever she wants. Roswes reveals that she heard him talking in his sleep, and he asks, startled, what he said. She lies, saying he seemed to regret not accepting a classmate's confession. Leon denies everything, explaining that he was too focused on serving his country to think about love. She suggests that dreams can reveal true feelings, but he continues to deny it. Moen, who was picking flowers, reacts to a sound. Then, she calls for her sister and runs towards a pillar of light, as Leon tells her to slow down. Noah appears with Moen and announces that she's back. Leon notices an object in Noah's hand and asks what it is. Noah explains that it's a homework assignment from her academy. They read the assignment, which is to write an 800-word essay about family and happiness. Roswes is surprised to learn it's a competition, and Noah says the other families are dragons and cocoons. Then, the girl states she wants to use her family's unique advantage as viviparous dragons. Moana asks what that advantage would be, and Noah prepares to tell her. Next, she shouts that the advantage is mommy and daddy's love, leaving them both shocked. Leon and Roswes look at each other, questioning their love. Noah asks for help finding materials and inspiration, and Moen gets excited to watch. Leon agrees to help, and Roswes asks Noah how they should cooperate. The girl then orders them to go on a date in Sky City the next day. The next day in Sky City, the two of them wear matching couples outfits prepared by their daughters. Leon suggests they start the date, and she agrees. He questions if Noah even knows what a date is, but Roswes claims she's a child who knows a lot. Next, he asks if she's ever been on a date, and she replies that she's been busy for hundreds of years. Leon also reflects that he spent his life focused on studies, his career, and raising his daughters. They both then realize they have no experience with dates, but Roswes confidently states that she already prepared the night before. Leon is startled to realize she only read romance novels. He then admits he also looked up information and listed common activities for couples. Roswes shows him a list of activities that don't involve excessive physical contact. Then Leon gets excited and declares they will give Noah the perfect material for her essay. At the zoo, Noah jots down notes while Moen eats ice cream. Afterward, they stroll through a clothing fair under the watchful eyes of their daughters. During a musical, Leon and Roswes fall asleep, but the girls keep watching. Suddenly, the show's host picks them from the audience. As part of the attraction, Leon gets on one knee and proposes to her. He places the ring on her finger as their daughters watch the scene. Next, the couple arrives at a fortune-telling tent. A fortune teller introduces herself and asks Roswes if she's a Scorpio. Surprised, she confirms her birthday is on October 25th and asks how the woman knew. The fortune teller explains that Scorpio girls are emotional and intense, despite seeming cold on the outside. Leon whispers that it's just a trick to fool kids, but she adds that for them, love is an all-or-nothing matter. Then, the woman turns to him and asks if he's a Leo, and he confirms it. She shakes her head, stating that their signs are very incompatible. Leon has a sudden revelation. He calls her Master, and concludes that their signs' incompatibility is the reason for their fights. The fortune teller advises him to give Roswes more security and express his love more. Leon then reflects on the idea of expressing love for her. Suddenly, the two feel a strong connection, and the fortune teller confirms that this was her intention. Afterward, she offers to use her crystal ball to predict their near future. She asks him to place his hand on the crystal ball, and Leon agrees. Then, he places his hands on the object. The psychic claims she sees iron bars and weeds in her crystal ball. Then, she reveals he's been in prison, leaving him shocked, while Roswes laughs at the situation. She offers to help him escape this prison for 100 gold coins. Leon is suspicious, but Roswes offers financial support for him to avoid disaster. He tells her they should leave, saying they shouldn't fall for this kind of trick. The psychic tries to stop them from leaving, revealing they will have children in the future. She insists she's not kidding and that they will indeed have many children. Once outside, Roswes asks why he didn't want to continue with the reading. Leon questions the possibility of them having children, and she agrees it's truly impossible, but he admits he experienced many new things that day and that it felt good. Roswes agrees, saying it was as if they were really dating. Leon replies that he's happy if she enjoyed the experience. Then she asks what their next destination is, and he announces that the final stop is the beach to see the sunset. They arrive at a beach not far from Sky City. Leon excitedly declares that the last stop on their date today is the beach. Roswes looks around and asks if he doesn't find the atmosphere a bit cheesy, as they watch other couples on the beach. Leon then agrees that the place is a date paradise, and suggests they go somewhere with fewer people. They walk along the shore at sunset. He notices the sunlight has dyed Roswes' hair a golden color. She notices him looking. Then the woman asks him why he's staring at her. He looks away and replies that he was just looking at the sun. Roswes calls him stubborn, but Leon declares he's only in a relationship with her. Suddenly, he seems to understand the situation, and accuses her of being jealous. She quickly covers his mouth and denies the accusation. Next, she whispers that he said a lot of bombshell things that night and asks if he wants to hear them. He shakes his head no, scared by the suggestion. She laughs, says she won't tell, and runs off while he chases after her, asking what else he said in his sleep. Hiding, Moen notices how happy her mother looks, smiling, while Noah regrets not having her camera. Then the servant says it's actually not a shame, and the girl asks why. She explains that fleeting beauty is more meaningful for Her Majesty and that they should cherish the moment in their hearts. The girls watch their mother smiling and agree. Roswis splashes water at Leon, who warns her to wait. She keeps running through the water. Suddenly, she slips and screams. Leon runs toward her and yells for her to be careful. Then, he holds her tightly in his arms. The two of them stare at each other for a moment. The closeness causes a reaction in Leon. Roswis moves closer to him and kisses him. They kiss on the beach during the sunset. The servant smiles and gently turns the girls' faces away, saying this was a private moment for the two of them. Leon reflects for a moment on the beach. Roswis then states that the perfection of a story depends on its ending. She holds out her hand, asking if he dares to hold the hand of the least compatible Scorpio. He smiles at the taunt. Then he takes her hand and says there's nothing to fear. Hand in hand, they walk along the beach as their date ends with the sunset. Sometime later, Noah wins the essay contest by describing her parents as a loving and strange couple. That night, a light is on in the room. Leon is looking for something under the bed. Next, he gets up from the floor. He reveals that he secretly printed photos of her in a kitten costume from an old festival and needs to hide them well. He sits on the floor, wondering where he should hide the last photo. Suddenly, someone enters the room. Leon turns around, startled by the sound. He quickly hides the photos in a drawer. He hurries back to his spot. Roswis enters the room and finds him reading on the couch. Leon then asks if she's turning in for the night, hoping she would stay a little longer. She smiles and asks if that's not possible. He agrees, telling her to do as she pleases. Leon thinks that he now has the upper hand to deal with any of her tricks. She sits next to him and asks if he likes bunny girls. Startled, he yells and wonders if his secret photo collection has been discovered. Roswis then reveals he talked in his sleep about wanting to see his classmates dressed as bunny girls. Leon denies it and declares that if he were to ask, he would ask her to wear the outfit. She's surprised to realize he took the chance to reveal his true feelings, but she decides to tease him a little more, and states that he can dream on, because she will never wear a bunny girl outfit for him. He concludes that since she didn't find the photos, he still has the advantage. Then Leon smiles and asks what she would do if she wore the bunny outfit. Roswis warns him that if he plans to use magic to force her, his tricks won't escape her sight, and then she challenges him, saying that if he succeeds, she'll have to publicly admit that he won the argument. Leon stares at her and asks if she's serious. She confirms, but reminds him to think about the consequences if his little plan fails. Then he gets up from the couch, and states he doesn't need any tricks as he opens a secret compartment. Leon explains that he's already done everything he needed to. Next, he throws a photo of her in a bunny costume onto the table, calling it a masterpiece. Roswis glares at him as he reveals another photo, calling it a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He spreads several photos on the table, declaring the last one the final art. An aura of energy erupts around her. She asks when the photos were taken, and Leon realizes the dragoness is furious. He tells her to calm down and reminds her of the days she was unconscious due to the blood curse. With a dark expression, she asks if he intends to use this against her.